Chapter 191. After Tang Zheng's pure yang energy was mediated, it turned into a vast and mighty true qi. It was like a flood breaking through a dam, surging violently. In addition to the true qi that he had absorbed from the dozens of spirit stones in an instant, the true qi in Tang Zheng's body had reached a terrifying level. Boom! A loud sound came from Tang Zheng's body. His true qi was stimulated, and like a wild horse, it instantly broke through the threshold, reaching 8 inches. Moreover, like a magnificent army of thousands of horses, his true qi soared from 8 inches to 9 inches. He unexpectedly broke through 2 realms in such a short period of time, reaching the 9th grade of qi refining. Although Fang Shishir also broke through 2 realms, the two couldn't be confused. Although Fang Shishir's achievement was commendable, the amount of true qi required was limited. However, Tang Zheng went from the 7th grade of qi refining to the 9th grade of qi refining. The gap between these realms wasn't something that could be made up with just a little bit of true qi. However, Tang Zheng succeeded, which was terrifying. Tang Zheng opened his eyes and found himself and Fang Shishir's naked bodies intimately connected. He instantly understood what was going on and couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. If Fang Shishir wasn't by his side today, then he really would have exploded and died. It seems that during this period of time, the pure yang energy didn't cause any trouble. He had almost ignored its danger. This time's eruption was a wake-up call for him. The pure yang energy's threat to him was far from over. He was still in deep danger. Although he and Fang Shishir occasionally had intimate actions, it was just like what Tian Chanzi said. As his cultivation increased, Fang Shishir's purine energy wasn't enough. He guiltily looked at Fang Shishir, who was right in front of him, and couldn't help but recall Tian Chanzi's words. Could it be that something was really going to happen between him and Yi Dingdang or Lu Qingmei? Before he had time to think about it, Fang Shishir opened her eyes. Her face was still red as she looked at him affectionately. "You're so naughty. You don't behave when you're practicing," Fang Shishir teased. Tang Zheng was speechless. This was not what he wanted. The problem was that this body was too strange. There was nothing he could do about it. "Shishir, thank you for saving my life," Tang Zheng sincerely said. Fang Shishir gently covered his mouth with her hand and said, "Do we still need to be so polite? Moreover, I also obtained some benefits. I am already a 3rd grade refining qi cultivator." Tang Zheng was incomparably happy. Originally, in order to reach the 3rd grade refining qi, he had suffered a lot. He had to cultivate day and night, fight in the dark, and constantly fight with people. It was far from being as relaxed as Fang Shishir. "Then you can have Tian Chanzi teach you techniques." Originally, he told me that he wanted to personally teach you techniques, Tang Zheng said. Ever since she saw Tang Zheng's techniques, she was incomparably eager. Now that she could also learn the legendary techniques, how could she not be ecstatic? "You're really too awesome. Does this mean that in the future, as long as we do this, we can increase our cultivation?" Fang Shishir said longingly. Tang Zheng laughed involuntarily. "How about we try it again?" Fang Shishir hurriedly slapped away his evil claws and said coquettishly, "Master is outside. Don't be naughty. Tian Chanzi is eavesdropping. That's too unkind," Tang Zheng said. Fang Shishir glared at him and said in a low voice, "Don't say that to Master. If it wasn't for Master's reminder, I wouldn't know what to do." Saying this, her cheeks became even redder. Being reminded by her master to do this kind of thing was too embarrassing. Tang Zheng laughed. "Actually, Tian Chanzi is sometimes quite kind." "Stinky brat, don't speak ill of me behind my back. Hurry up and come out. I want to see what's going on with you," Tian Chanzi impatiently urged. "What are you in such a hurry for? I won't run away," Tang Zheng loudly replied. "Hurry up and get up. Don't dawdle." Fang Shishir hurriedly stood up from Tang Zheng's body, but her legs were weak and she fell onto Tang Zheng's body. Her soft body once again fell into his embrace. Tang Zheng immediately hugged her, his heart like a monkey and a galloping horse. If Tian Chanzi wasn't outside the door, he really would have to fight another 300 rounds to extinguish the fire in his heart. "Don't mess around. Master is outside the door." Fang Shishir felt his restlessness and hurriedly reminded him. Tang Zheng bitterly smiled, patted her perky but and said, I'll deal with you next time, Feng Shishir fearlessly said. Come, I'm not afraid of you. Yo, you're getting bolder and bolder. If I don't beat you for 3 days, you'll become a troublemaker. You just wait for me tonight. Tang Zheng threatened. Feng Shishir playfully stuck out her tongue and quickly put on her clothes. But Tang Zheng's situation was tragic. His clothes were all burned, and he had no clothes to wear. Looking at his embarrassed state, Feng Shishir finally couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh. Don't laugh. Hurry up and buy me a set of clothes. Otherwise your boyfriend will run around naked. Run around naked? I don't have any objections. That's not good. I have to hide such a perfect body. If I want to show it, I'll only show it to you. Feng Shishir's lips curled up and praised. It's good that you have this awareness. I'll reward you tonight. I'll go buy you clothes. Remember to buy underwear. Tang Zheng reminded. I know. Feng Shishir didn't even look back as she left the room. Tian Chanzi's figure flashed as he walked in. Tang Zheng quickly found a small piece of cloth to cover his private parts and embarrassedly said, Hey, Tian Chanzi, don't look at indecent things. If there's anything you want to say, wait until I put on my clothes first before saying. Tian Chanzi rolled his eyes and said, We're all men. What are you afraid of? It's precisely because I'm a man that I'm afraid. I'm not afraid of women. Don't mess around. Let me see you. You've actually reached the 9th grade of Qi refining. TSK, you're really amazing. Tian Chanzi didn't hide his envy. Little brat, do you know what just happened? Tang Zheng recalled for a moment and nodded. The true fire in my sea of knowledge burned uncontrollably on the surface of my body as if it wanted to burn me to death. In the end, what happened? How would I know? The true fire is refining you like alchemy, tempering your body. I can see that your body is a lot stronger than before. Really? Tang Zheng looked left and right, but didn't seem to notice any big changes. Tian Chanzi reminded him, quietly feel it. Isn't the explosive power of your body better? Do you feel like your muscles are stronger? Tang Zheng closed his eyes and carefully felt for a moment. He suddenly opened his eyes and said in pleasant surprise, It's really like that. Could this be the effect of the true fire? Please recommend. Chapter 192. Feng Yong gasped for breath and said, Boss, you still don't know your college entrance exam results? Tang Zheng suspiciously said, Of course I don't know. What happened? Hurry up and tell me. Feng Yong laughed. Haha, that means I'm the first one to tell you. It seems like I'm quite competent as your little brother. Don't keep me in suspense, Tang Zheng urged. Feng Yong took a deep breath and said, Boss, listen carefully. This shocking dark horse is you. Tang Zheng's heart moved. He was still very confident in his exam. Thus he calmly said, Then how many points did I get? 740 points. Our province has never had anyone get such a high score in all these years. You only lost 10 points. This is a true top student. Feng Yong used a tone that could only be looked up to and sighed. Tang Zheng secretly sighed. He was full of confidence, but he still lost 10 points. It seems like there was still something he overlooked. Boss, why aren't you saying anything? Are you too excited? Seeing that Tang Zheng did not react for a long time, Feng Yong excitedly asked, Not excited. It's a bit of a pity. Tang Zheng honestly said. Feng Yong shouted, Boss, are you going to let us go or not? He's alive. You're the top scorer, and with such a terrifying score. If you still feel pity, then how can you let others live? Don't stop me. I'm going to jump off a building. Tang Zheng laughed and said, Don't just talk about me. How did you do? Feng Yong laughed and said, Not bad. In short, going to a normal university in Beijing is not a problem. My dad doesn't need to give money to the school. Congratulations. Boss, this is all thanks to you. If I didn't meet you, I would definitely have done very poorly. Feng Yong sincerely said. Without a doubt, Tang Zheng's appearance changed the trajectory of his life. Moreover, this kind of life was developing in a better direction. Now, not only was he learning and improving rapidly, he was even practicing martial arts. In the future, he would definitely become a martial artist, and that would be a different kind of life. Feng Shishir also heard Feng Yong's loud voice. She happily looked at Tang Zheng and congratulated him. I knew you could do it. You will amaze the world with a single brilliant feat. Let those who look down on you see that you are the best in the world." She held his hand and rested her head on his shoulder. "Boss, is sister-in-law with you?" I heard her voice. Feng Yong asked. Feng Shishir took the phone and said, "Feng Yong, congratulations." "Thank you, sister-in-law." "Oh, I'm really sorry, sister-in-law. I've disturbed you too," Feng Yong said with an evil smile. Feng Shishir blushed slightly. "Sister-in-law, I have another piece of good news for you. You're our province's second place with 705 points. Congratulations, sister-in-law," Feng Yong said. Feng Shishir made an "oh" sound. She did not show too much surprise. Feng Yong was shocked and said with grievance, "Sister-in-law, why do you have the same reaction as boss? You're not excited at all. You two are really family." Feng Shishir smiled but did not explain. She only cared about Tang Zheng. She was not that happy about her own results. Tang Zheng, on the other hand, was very happy. He hugged her tightly and kissed her forehead, saying, "Congratulations." Feng Shishir looked up and sweetly smiled. "Hey, boss, sister-in-law, don't be so intimate. I have even more shocking news. This time, the top 3 in the province are all from our school. Guess who is the third place?" Feng Yong pretended to be mysterious and asked, "Who is it?" "You can guess, but I guarantee that you won't be able to guess." Feng Shishir thought for a moment and said a name. This was the top student in Pengcheng International School who was second only to her. "No, I'll tell you the answer. Otherwise, you won't be able to guess. If I didn't confirm it again and again, I wouldn't have believed this result." Feng Yong sighed. "Hurry up and say it. Don't dawdle. Then listen carefully. The third place is our class's Takashi." Takashi? Tang Zheng was shocked. How could it be him? "Boss, you had the same reaction as me. I'm afraid that this is also everyone's reaction. I've been in the same class as Takashi for 3 years. I know his background too well. His grades have always been at the bottom of the grade, and he never made much progress. No one would have thought that he would score so high. This is not a normal performance. This is heaven-defying," Feng Yong exclaimed. Tang Zheng shook his head. He really couldn't figure out this matter. Tang Zheng was able to become the top scorer in the exam not only because he had a good foundation before, but also because after he became a cultivator, his comprehension ability and almost photographic memory consolidated his strength, so it was not too surprising. But Takashi was different. His grades for 3 years were at the bottom. Now that he soared to the top, it was too abnormal. Moreover, if it was said that he had been hiding, then he had been hiding for 3 years. This kind of endurance was simply unimaginable for a teenager. The key point was that from Tang Zheng's contact with Takashi these days, Takashi was definitely not a person who was good at enduring. There must be a demon behind this abnormality. Moreover, Takashi once had a conflict with Tang Zheng. This point couldn't help but arouse his attention. "Is there anything suspicious about Takashi these past few years?" Tang Zheng asked in a deep voice. Feng Yong recalled Takashi's actions in the past 3 years and said, since the beginning of the first year of high school, he relied on his height and strength to bully his classmates. If there's anything unusual about him, it was a little bit before the college entrance exam. During this time, he stopped bullying people and sat in his seat all day. He also didn't wander around like before. However, I always thought that he became like this because he was afraid of boss. Tang Zheng had indeed noticed Takashi's abnormality. However, he and Feng Yong both thought that the other party was afraid of him. But now, Tang Zheng felt that it might not be the reason. However, he couldn't figure out the reason, so he could only temporarily put down this doubt. Both sides had just hung up when Tang Zheng's cell phone rang again. This time, it was Lu Qingmei. She couldn't hide her excitement as she said, "Tang Zheng, you really gave me a big surprise. You're the provincial champion." Tang Zheng laughed and said, "Didn't you always want me to perform normally? This is your normal performance. You really tricked me. You don't know what other people look like when they find out your results. I really want to laugh when I see the other teachers look like they've seen a ghost." Lu Qingmei couldn't help but laugh. "This is all thanks to teacher Lu's guidance. Don't talk nonsense with me. Is Feng Shishir by your side?" Lu Qingmei didn't hear him call her sister Mei. so she guessed. Yes. You two quickly come to school. The principal and the leader of the Education Bureau want to see you. Also, the reporters from the television station have also come. You two are now celebrities. Lu Qingmei urged. There's no need to be so exaggerated. Tang Zheng couldn't help but laugh. You're not exaggerated enough. Your score is too abnormal. It's hard not to attract people's attention. When you handed in the exam so early, I almost suspected that you knew the exam in advance. Lu Qingmei joked. Tang Zheng was helpless. He looked at Feng Shishir and said, Let's go. We're going to school. Tian Shanzi heard the two's conversation at the door and said, Brat, don't blame me for not reminding you. You're a cultivator. It's not suitable for you to attract too much attention. After all, there's still no news from the martial organization. Be careful not to attract too much trouble. Tang Zheng's heart moved. He solemnly nodded and said, I know. I'll act according to the circumstances. When the two of them arrived at the school, there were already quite a few students there. It was clear that everyone knew of Tang Zheng's score and looked at him from afar. Their eyes no longer held any disdain, but were filled with undisguised envy and jealousy. Tang Zheng was really unprecedented this time. Most likely, there would be no one like him in the future. More importantly, his girlfriend was not only the school's most beautiful girl, but also the third most beautiful girl. Who said that being in love would affect one's studies? They were a model couple who could be in love and study at the same time. In short, he had already become a legend. Feeling those fiery gazes, Tang Zheng and Feng Shishir remained calm and collected. They looked at each other, and their fingers clasped even tighter. Lu Qingmei looked at the couple from afar. They were really a match made in heaven. You're showing off your love like this. Aren't you afraid of other people's murderous eyes? Lu Qingmei changed from her usual cold attitude. She smiled and joked. Tang Zheng shrugged and said, I'm already immune to this kind of gaze. Lu Qingmei sighed and said, Yes, when you two were together, you suffered from many people's disdain and ridicule. This is the best and most powerful counterattack. Hurry up and go upstairs. There are many people waiting for you too. The three of them went upstairs to the principal's office. There were already many people gathered in the office. There were even people carrying cameras. A beautiful reporter was interviewing the head of the Education Bureau and the principal. The two faced the camera with a serious expression and spoke frankly with assurance. They were not stingy with their praise for Tang Zheng. Seeing the main characters enter the office, everyone's eyes were attracted. Even the cameras were turned to focus on Tang Zheng and Feng Shishir. Their interlocked fingers were immediately recorded. The principal quickly walked over and warmly shook Tang Zheng's hand and said, Student Tang Zheng, congratulations. I already knew that you would get good grades and have always believed in this. It seems that my eyes were right. Lu Qingmei curled her lips. When Tang Zheng couldn't find the admission ticket, the principal clearly gave up on him. He didn't believe that Tang Zheng could get good grades like he said. However, no one exposed this kind of high-sounding lie. The principal turned to Feng Shishir and warmly said, Student Feng Shishir, congratulations to you too. Tang Zheng, and you have both brought glory to the school. The school is grateful to you. Feng Shishir smiled but didn't say anything. Tang Zheng looked at the camera aimed at him and subconsciously remembered Tian Shanzi's advice. He only wanted to amaze the world with a single brilliant feat. He didn't expect that the publicity that came with fame would make him unable to hide. If he was an ordinary person, he would really enjoy this kind of life under the spotlight. However, the key was that he had too many secrets and didn't want to attract too much attention. But now that he was going to be on TV, what should he do? Chapter 193. The beautiful reporter sized up Tang Zheng with her pair of eyes. This young man was actually the super fierce person who had taken the exam for 740 people. It was really unbelievable. Free novel portal moreover, seeing him holding hands with such a beautiful girl, her interest was greatly increased. Her mind was already imagining countless hot topics that could ignite public opinion. She excitedly handed over the microphone and interviewed. Two students, congratulations. May I ask how you are feeling now? Is there anything you want to say? I'm not in the mood and I don't have anything to say, Tang Zheng lightly said, frowning at the camera and asked, Can you turn off the camera? Everyone was stunned. How could there be nothing to say? Shouldn't they be excited and incoherent at this time? Saying some high-sounding words like thanking their parents, thanking the school, and so on. Seeing this, the principal revealed an amiable smile and hurriedly comforted them. You may not be used to facing the camera for the first time. Don't be nervous. Take a deep breath and slowly relax. Just act as usual. Lu Qingmei poked Tang Zheng's back and whispered, "This is a good opportunity to promote you. Don't waste it." Tang Zheng was only 8 years old and didn't like publicity. He wanted to keep a low profile, so he said bluntly, "I don't know why you called us here." The director of the Municipal Education Bureau strode over with a big belly. His eyes fell on Tang Zheng and said loudly, "Tang Zheng, you have achieved such good results. So the Municipal Education Bureau and the Municipal TV station are preparing to jointly launch a program to promote you in all aspects. In addition to the normal interview conversations, they will also follow and film your daily life to understand you more comprehensively and make you a business card of Ordinary Balance." Ordinary Balance City had never had a provincial college entrance examination champion. This was undoubtedly the best opportunity to show his face. Of course, he wouldn't miss it. The staff of the Education Bureau would be recognized and valued by their superiors. Especially him, the director of the Education Bureau, could add a lot of color to his official career. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come so quickly and specially brought a television staff to accompany him. Tang Zheng ignored the other party's little scheme and refused without hesitation. "I'm sorry, I refuse to accept all of this." The bureau chief looked at Tang Zheng in disbelief and asked blankly, "Why did you refuse? This is a great opportunity for you to become famous." "I don't like being famous," Tang Zheng said bluntly. "This is something that many people dream of. You can't waste such an opportunity. I heard that your family conditions aren't good. This kind of publicity will be more beneficial to your future life," the director advised anxiously. If Tang Zheng did not cooperate, then this great publicity opportunity would be wasted. Tang Zheng was unmoved. "I don't need this kind of opportunity. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first. I'll come back in a few days when I fill in my application form." The bureau chief was stunned. Finally, an impatient look appeared on his face. He asked coldly, "What's with your attitude? We're doing this for your own good, but you're so uncooperative. Don't think that you can be arrogant just because you're the top scorer." "When have I ever been arrogant? I just don't want to be disturbed in my life." Tang Zheng refused to budge an inch. Seeing the strong smell of gunpowder, the principal hurriedly advised, "Student Tang Zheng, the bureau chief is doing this for your own good. You can't waste the leader's good intentions. How much I score is my own business. I really don't need others to worry about me. I also don't like other people telling me what to do and making decisions for me." Tang Zheng did not care about the bureau chief's anger at all. The bureau chief stared at him and said, "If you do this, the consequences will be very serious." Tang Zheng jokingly smiled and said, "What are the serious consequences? You can tell me and let me see what you're capable of." "You." The bureau chief was speechless. He did not expect that Tang Zheng would directly contradict him. The principal had a headache. It was originally a good thing. How did it become like this? He hurriedly said, "Since Tang Zheng doesn't like to be interviewed, then what about student Fang Shishir? You're the second place on the list. We can change the interview to you." The bureau chief thought about it and felt that it was feasible. Moreover, Fang Shishir was a great beauty. It would be even more interesting and attractive. Unexpectedly, Fang Shishir looked at Tang Zheng and then shook her head without hesitation. "I don't want to be interviewed. I also don't like to stand in front of a camera." The two people's reactions were exactly the same. It made everyone else's eyes widen in disbelief. Strange things happened every year, but this year there were especially many. In the past, if someone was the top scorer, they would be bombarded with public opinion. However, this time, the top scorer in second place wanted to keep a low profile. Did the sun rise from the west? Lu Qingmei also looked at Tang Zheng and Fang Shishir in astonishment. She did not understand their thoughts at all. She was about to say something to persuade them, but she swallowed her words. She knew that Tang Zheng was a very opinionated person. Since he had already made up his mind, it would be difficult to change it. The leader was very embarrassed. These two students dared to contradict him in front of so many people. How preposterous. He glared at the principal and said, "How do you teach your students? Are the students nowadays so impolite?" The principal's expression was difficult. He stammered, "Young people don't know any better. Please calm down, calm down." Tang Zheng coldly looked at the bureau chief and said, "The college entrance exam is my own business. No matter how many points I get, it has nothing to do with you. You want to use my results to gain benefits for you, right? Sorry, I don't have that obligation." Tang Zheng hit the nail on the head and said what the bureau chief was thinking. The bureau chief was very embarrassed. In the past, the top scorers of the college entrance exam were dragged to this kind of program to support you. But after a few years, how many people would remember them? The most important thing for students is to study and not to be dragged to do publicity. This is putting the cart before the horse. Since you don't understand this, then I don't need to talk to you anymore. Let's go. Tang Zheng pulled Fang Shishir and turned to leave, ignoring the room full of stunned people. Stop. If you dare to walk out of this door, then don't even think about going to college. Don't think that you can be arrogant just because you are the top scorers. The bureau chief was furious and unceremoniously threatened. Tang Zheng and Fang Shishir stopped and turned around. The leader's face showed a trace of pride and said, "How about it? Do you know how powerful I am now? Your application and future files have to go through the Education Bureau. Without our permission, don't even think about going to college." Tang Zheng shrugged his shoulders and said without fear, "Then use all of your methods. I want to see what kind of tricks you can play in the end." Hiss. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. They never thought that Tang Zheng would still not compromise at the last moment. "Don't treat me like any other student. Otherwise, the one who will regret it will be you." Tang Zheng said coldly, "You dare to threaten me? If you think of it as a threat, then take it as a threat." Tang Zheng said indifferently, "Was this something a high school student should say?" Of course not. Tang Zheng was no longer an ordinary high school student, so they couldn't get used to his attitude. The bureau chief was so angry that his whole body trembled. Even the principal had a bitter face and said, "Tang Zheng, don't talk too much. Calm down. He is just a child. He doesn't know anything. Don't lower yourself to his level." The bureau chief stared straight at Tang Zheng and arrogantly asked, "I will give you one last chance. Will you agree to my request?" "Forgive me for not accompanying you." Tang Zheng turned around and walked out of the office with Fang Shishir. "This is too much. How can there be this kind of student? We must teach them a lesson." The leader shouted. Lu Qingmei frowned and looked at him before quickly chasing after them. "Tang Zheng, wait a minute." Lu Qingmei stopped the two at the stairs. "What's wrong with you? Why aren't you willing to be interviewed?" Tang Zheng shook his head. "I don't like it. I don't think there is a need to go on TV. I don't like life under the spotlight. You are really different from other people. Other people want to be famous, but you seem to be afraid of being famous." Lu Qingmei shook her head. She couldn't figure him out. Tang Zheng nodded and admitted, "I really don't like being famous. Isn't there a saying that people are afraid of being famous and pigs are afraid of being fat? It is better for me to keep a low profile and live longer." Lu Qingmei looked at him thoughtfully and said, "That's good too. Maintaining this humble attitude will help you in the future. You guys go back first. In 2 days, come to the school to fill in your application." "Oh right, have you thought about what school you want to apply to?" "Yinqing University." "Fang Shishir, what about you?" Fang Shishir said without hesitation. "Me too." Tang Zheng looked at her and sighed. She really did as he expected and gave up on the idea of going abroad. "Then you two can still be together in the future. Congratulations." "Thank you, teacher." Fang Shishir was particularly sweet. She held Tang Zheng's hand and left the campus. But when Tang Zheng walked to Upwind Shishue, he found a lot of reporters with cameras blocking the entrance of the community. He instinctively thought that they were here for him, so he pulled Fang Shishir and hid far away. "Why are these reporters so annoying? They actually blocked the entrance of my house?" Tang Zheng frowned. Fang Shishir didn't find it strange and said, "This has always been a tradition. A place that has a college entrance examination top scorer will write about it. It is bound to let the world know about it. We can't fulfill their wishes. Let's go to Shangshir Bar." "Bar?" Fang Shishi's eyes lit up. I've never been to a place like that. My parents also won't let me go. They say it's too messy. Tang Zheng smiled and said, they're right. If a beauty like you goes to a bar, wouldn't you become a big magnet? You'll definitely attract countless people to hit on you. Fang Shishi playfully smiled and said, I'm not as charming as you say. You can't do it, right? Then let's go check it out tonight. The two arrived at the entrance of the bar. It was already nighttime, and there were already some scattered customers. Tang Zheng was already a familiar face in Shangshi Bar. When he walked to the door, the underling recognized him and hurriedly respectfully shouted, Young Master Tang. Tang Zheng nodded and whispered, Don't make a fuss. The underling understood. Young Master Tang, have fun. As soon as the two of them sat down, a man walked over with a glass of wine. Chapter 194. Tian Chanzi saw Tang Jing and Fang Shishi from afar. He walked over with a glass of wine and asked, Why are you two here? Can't we come? Tang Jing asked with a smile. He pointed at a beautiful woman who was winking at Tian Chanzi and said, I heard that you've been very free and unfettered recently. You've been enjoying yourself so much that you've forgotten your home. Little brat, you're deliberately embarrassing me in front of my disciple, right? Tian Chanzi pretended to be angry. Tang Jing laughed. How could that be? You should quickly go over. Otherwise, the beauties over there won't be able to wait any longer and will come over to denounce me. Don't joke around with me. Let me tell you something. After careful consideration today, I've decided to leave ordinary balance in a few days. I want to find out what happened in the past 1,000 years and what's going on with the martial organization. 1,000 years ago, there was no such organization as the martial organization. Tian Chanzi drank a mouthful of wine and became serious. Tang Zheng's head sank and he nodded. That's good. Otherwise, we'll be in a passive state. That martial organization is too strange. I suspect that something must have happened. Otherwise, they would have already come to find trouble with you. Since they haven't made a move, that means you're safe for the time being. As long as you pay attention to hiding your identity, you won't be in too much trouble. Tian Chanzi analyzed. Tang Zheng secretly rejoiced. Fortunately, he rejected the interview today. Otherwise, the media would have bombarded him indiscriminately. It would have been difficult for him not to be exposed. As for what happened to the martial organization, he was also very curious. He also agreed with Tian Chanzi's analysis. There must have been something that caused the martial organization to not come to ordinary balance. Since he was temporarily not in danger, Tian Chanzi naturally did not need to continue staying by his side. Tian Chanzi looked at Fang Shishi and said, Disciple, since you've already reached the 3rd grade refining qi, I'll focus on teaching you spells for the next few days. Once I leave, you can practice in peace. Fang Shishi's eyes lit up when she heard about the spell. Thank you, Master. Tian Chanzi, I'm going to learn some new spells during this time, such as ground shrink and sword manipulation, Tang Zheng said. No problem. You can indeed learn to shrink the ground now. Even if there is danger in the future, you can also run away quickly, Tian Chanzi agreed. Tang Zheng rolled his eyes and said, Can't you say something nice about me? Running away when you can't win? You're making me look like a deserter. Little brat, don't blame me for not reminding you. Sometimes you're too stubborn. Running away when you can't win is not a shameful thing. Preserving your life is your greatest skill. Tian Chanzi warned. Tang Zheng couldn't help but remember the battles he experienced. Sometimes he was too impulsive. It seemed that he needed to change his strategy. Without Tian Chanzi by his side, if he couldn't win, he would just run away. As for the sword manipulation technique, you haven't reached the 1st grade foundation establishment. You can't learn it. I can't learn it now, but maybe I can learn it in the future. Moreover, once you leave, I don't know when I'll be able to see you again. So I have to prepare for a rainy day. Tian Chanzi laughed involuntarily. Little brat, you're too scheming. Okay, I'll teach it to you. Although your ancient clear heaven scroll is good, it's only a pure mental cultivation method. It doesn't have the corresponding spells to support it. It's really a pity. Since the ancient clear heaven scroll is a pity, then why did you fight to the death with the Yin demons? Tang Zheng said in a bad mood. Tian Chanzi blew his beard and glared at him, saying, What do you know? Mental cultivation methods are the foundation of all spells. The better the mental cultivation method, the faster your cultivation progress. Then you have to supplement it with all kinds of spells. Only like this can you truly improve your fighting strength. Tang Jing obviously knew that the ancient clear heaven scroll was extraordinary, but he always felt that it was only a set of mental cultivation methods. Without the corresponding spells, it was like a person with only one leg. He always felt that half of it was missing. He suddenly had an idea and asked, Tian Chanzi, don't tell me there isn't a set of overall spells? Tian Chanzi shook his head. There are many spells in the world. How could there be someone who could collect all the spells? This project isn't just ordinary vast, but it also isn't necessary. However, every sect has their own spells. Many spells are similar, but their power is not the same. Tang Zheng said regretfully, that's really a pity. Could it be that in the future when my power is enough, but I don't have the corresponding spells to cultivate? Wouldn't that be too much of a pity? You little brat, don't be too greedy. I've already passed on my sect's most powerful outer heaven, flying immortal sword technique to you. What are you still not satisfied with? This is my sect's most powerful attack spell. As long as you cultivate it to its peak, its power will definitely not be something you can imagine. Tian Chanzi said. Tang Zheng's heart moved. Now that he was already a 9th grade refining chi cultivator, he could learn a few more styles of the outer heaven flying immortal sword technique. However, he was not satisfied with this and said, no, before you leave, I still want to learn a few other things. For example, alchemy and formations. Tian Chanzi muttered to himself for a while and said, that's fine. In these few days, I will do my best to teach you. How much you can learn will depend on your luck. Okay, let's not talk about this for now. You should hurry and drink with the beauty. Otherwise, I will be pierced by her gaze. Tang Zheng joked. Tian Chanzi glared at him and walked over with a cup of wine. The beauty immediately smiled sweetly and affectionately drank with Tian Chanzi. Fang Shishir couldn't help but sigh. Master's charm is really great. Hey, could it be that my charm is small? Of course it's big. However, isn't having a great beauty like me still not enough? Fang Shishir stared straight at him and asked. Tang Jing laughed. Of course it's enough. Let's drink first. After ordering the wine, the two of them began to drink. Fang Shishir's alcohol tolerance was not bad. After drinking a few cups, her face was a bit red. Under the light, she was especially charming. Ring, ring, ring. Tang Zheng's phone suddenly rang. It was Feng Yong calling. Sure, you drink first. It's too noisy here. I'll go out and answer the phone. Fang Shishir waved her hand and said, Go. Then she drank by herself. She enjoyed it very much. Tang Zheng walked out of the bar and asked, Hey, fatty, what's the matter? Boss, why did I hear that you refused the TV station's interview? This is a great opportunity to become famous. Feng Yong was puzzled and asked, I don't want to be famous. Damn, boss, I don't understand you. This is the dream of many people. It's great to be famous. Others want it, but I don't. Boss, you are too profound. I can't see through you. Feng Yong sighed in amazement. I heard that the school has decided to promote Takashi as a benchmark. It's really infuriating. He is the 3rd place, and he has the nerve to come out and make a fool of himself. Tang Jing became interested and asked, Oh, do you know what Takashi's reaction was? I heard that he agreed. This kid is very arrogant now. He just called me and said that tonight he invited the whole class to KTV to sing. He asked me to arrange it. He especially invited you and sister-in-law. Tang Jing frowned. This Takashi is really strange. It's reasonable to say that the other party is very afraid of him. Why would he take the initiative to invite him? Boss, you must go and kill this kid's prestige. Feng Yong said with righteous indignation. Okay, I'll go. Where is it? Dihao. This is Ordinary Balance's biggest KTV. The hostesses are very beautiful. Fatty, you know the door. Have you experienced it before? Tang Zheng joked. Feng Yong embarrassedly said, Boss, I've never been. I'm still a virgin. Haha, then why not take advantage of tonight to end this identity? I can't bear to. Boss, you guys hurry over. I'll also leave soon. This may be our class's last gathering. You and sister-in-law are the main characters. You must not let Takashi steal the limelight. Tang Jing nodded. Okay, we'll go right away. Tang Zheng returned to the bar and found that Fang Shishir was surrounded by 3 young men. Fang Shishir was very impatient and obviously did not want to pay attention to the other party. Tang Zheng did not expect that after he left for a while, someone would go up and strike up a conversation. He quickly walked over and took Fang Shishir into his arms. He looked at the 3 people and said, "She's my girlfriend? Brother, we only asked her to drink a glass of wine. Are you not going to give her face?" The tallest of the 3 said, "My girlfriend doesn't like to drink with others." Tang Zheng coldly said, "Oh, your tone is quite big. We all came out to play. If you don't give us face, then we won't be able to play." The 3 people deliberately surrounded the 2 in the center and said with an unkind expression. Tang Zheng moved closer to Fang Shishir's ear and said as if there was no one else, Takashi invited the whole class to KTV. We'll also go." Fang Shishir said in surprise. That's strange. Yes, there must be a demon when things are abnormal. Takashi's behavior has been too abnormal recently. I originally had a conflict with him, so I have to go and find out. If you don't want to go, I'll send you home first. Tang Zheng said. Fang Shishir shook her head. No, I'll go with you. Seeing the 2 whispering as if there was no one else around and acting intimately, the 3 people lost face and angrily said, "Brother, did you hear me? Drink this glass of wine, or don't even think about leaving here." Tang Zheng was too lazy to talk nonsense with the other party. He grabbed the wine bottle and fiercely hit the other party's head. Bang! The wine bottle shattered and the wine spilled all over the other party's face. The other party was stunned for a moment and shouted, F***CK, you dare hit me. Catch this brat for me. I want to teach him a lesson. Tang Zheng didn't even look and consecutively smashed the other 2 bottles on the other 2 people's heads. He was extremely arrogant. The movement here had already attracted the attention of the surrounding people. Many people started to make a fuss and looked at the scene with interest. They were guessing what kind of person Tang Zheng was that he dared to cause trouble in Brother Tiger's territory and was also so arrogant. The underlings who were watching the scene had already surrounded them. When they saw Tang Zheng, they couldn't help but be stunned. They obviously recognized him. Tang Zheng wasn't interested in staying and pointed at the 3 people in front of him. The underlings understood and immediately put the 3 people on the ground. Suddenly, there was a burst of screams. Tang Zheng pulled Fang Shishir and left. Chapter 195. Emperor KTV. When Tang Zheng and Fang Shishir arrived by car, Feng Yong was already waiting at the door. He quickly walked up to them and said, "Boss, sister-in-law." Tang Jing asked, "Where's Takashi?" "He just sent a few classmates to a private room." Feng Yong said, "Boss, it's up to you tonight. This brat is so arrogant. I don't like him." He had been bullied by Takashi before, so of course, he didn't have a good impression of Takashi. Tang Zheng still remembered that when he first entered the Hell class, he was almost drenched by Takashi. Later, because of Yi Dingdang, he taught him a lesson. However, later on, Tang Zheng displayed more and more strength. Takashi was scared, so Tang Zheng didn't pay attention to him. But this time, Takashi's sudden rise made Tang Zheng realize that Takashi was not simple. He was ready to figure out the other party's background. Haha, Tang Zheng, Fang Shishir, you're here. Quick, please come in. Takashi walked out. When he saw Tang Zheng and Fang Shishir, he greeted them warmly. No one could tell that there was any conflict between the 2. Instead, it was like they were good friends who hadn't seen each other for many years. Tang Zheng's head trembled. Suddenly, he had an illusion that the other party was not the Takashi he knew, but another person. Sigh. However, this feeling was too mysterious. He couldn't figure it out. "You're really generous tonight. You actually invited the whole class," Tang Zheng said lightly. Takashi smiled and said, "Isn't it graduation? Everyone is just happy. The 2 of you are giving me a lot of face. Feng Yong, you take them in first. I'll pick up the other students." Watching Tang Zheng and the others walk through the door of Emperor, Takashi's eyes flashed with a strong, cold, murderous intent. Immediately, he became harmless again. Boss, I feel that Takashi has changed into a different person. What do you think? Feng Yong said as he walked. He's never been so polite to me before. Tang Zheng nodded. So, keep an eye on him and see what tricks he's playing. Understood. They came to the private room. This was the largest and most luxurious private room in Emperor, which could accommodate dozens of people. Many students were already sitting inside. When Tang Zheng and the other two walked in, immediately, everyone's gaze was attracted to them. There was no other way. Tang Zheng had already become the focus of attention among the students. Top scorer Tang, you've been hiding it from us. Someone joked. You've been hiding it from us for so long. Now, it's really shocking. You have to drink 2 more glasses later, or you won't be able to walk out of this door tonight, right? Yes, we have to get him drunk. No, we have to punish ourselves with 3 glasses first. It's really enviable. Not only is he the top scorer, but even our school belle Fong has been chased by him. How can we live like this? In the midst of everyone's condemnation, they were pulled to sit down. The atmosphere was very warm. In fact, everyone was happy. After all, it was glorious to study in the same class as the top scorer. Most of the students in their teens were still very simple-minded. However, everyone wasn't just talking about toasting. They were putting it into practice. As soon as the two of them sat down, a few people came over with beer and said, "Top scholar Tang, first punish yourself by drinking 3 glasses. Otherwise, we'll have to carry you back tonight. When the time comes, you'll have to be carried back by the school beauty Fong." Tang Zheng did not refuse and said, "Well, then I'll punish myself with 3 glasses of beer." Then he drank 3 glasses of beer in one gulp. Good. The crowd applauded. Top scorer Tang, good job. We'll let bygones be bygones. But this time, you've achieved such good results. Of course, we have to celebrate, right? Come, let's each toast to him. Tang Zheng smiled bitterly. Didn't you say that if I punish myself with 3 glasses, we won't take turns? Haha, how is that possible? Tonight, we're going to get you drunk. Otherwise, we won't be able to balance our hearts. You're the top scorer, and you're the top scorer. How can we live? Seeing that everyone was joking and had no hostility, Tang Zheng also let go, showing the liveliness and cheerfulness that people his age should have. In fact, since he was transferred to Class 7, he did not have much contact with the other students. But it was fate that brought them together, so he took advantage of this time to drink to his heart's content. Feng Shishir knew his alcohol tolerance, so she did not stop him. Feng Yong watched as Tang Zheng drank with one person after another. He was secretly speechless and whispered, "Sister-in-law, you should advise boss not to drink too fast. Otherwise, when he gets drunk, Takashi will be the main character." Feng Shishir shook her head and said, "He won't get drunk." Feng Yong was in disbelief. "No way. Drinking with dozens of people and he won't get drunk?" Feng Shishir proudly raised her head and said, "Of course. Female students, you can't just watch us drink. There's a female lead here. School beauty Fong doesn't drink. Quickly go and order a song. We've never heard our school beauty sing before. This is our last chance." Someone reminded. Immediately, the female students were infected by this enthusiasm. They all pulled Feng Shishir to order a song. Feng Shishir looked at the heroic Tang Zheng and ordered a song called "Say I Love You." The music sounded. A clear and slightly playful voice sounded. "My world has become more wonderful and indescribable. I thought it was a dream that fell from the sky." Instantly, everyone quieted down and looked at Feng Shishir. This was the first time they heard her sing. Without a doubt, her voice was perfect and full of emotion. Tang Zheng also stared straight at her, and when their eyes met, Feng Shishir's eyes were brimming with undisguised deep feelings. Feng Shishir was completely immersed in this song. Ever since she fell in love with Tang Zheng, her world had become more wonderful. It was like a dream. From strangers to acquaintances will be something we never thought of true love until now, not daring to expect. Until I'm sure, the warmth in your palm comes from your heart at this moment, I finally have the courage to say I love you." When the song ended, their eyes met. Even outsiders could see the deep affection in each other's eyes. This was a passionate confession, a call from the heart. Fang Shishir said to Tang Zheng from this song, "I love you." Clatter, applause, whistles, and screams sounded. What did teenagers yearn for the most? Unforgettable romantic love was undoubtedly one of them. Fang Shishir and Tang Zheng's love was undoubtedly romantic. After all, at the beginning, no one was optimistic about their union. But in the end, it was shown that they were a match made in heaven. Hearing Fang Shishir's affectionate confession, no one was jealous anymore. They only gave their most sincere blessings. "Boss, it's time for you to perform." Tang Zheng was pushed in front of Fang Shishir by Feng Yong. "Kiss her, kiss her." The crowd cheered. Their voices seemed to be able to lift the roof. Tang Zheng hugged Fang Shishir. Fang Shishir raised her head and looked at him in a daze. Tang Zheng slowly lowered his head and kissed her lips. Oh! The cheering became louder and the applause became more intense. Fang Shishir's face turned into a ripe apple, but she allowed Tang Zheng to hug her. Her heart was as sweet as honey. The door to the private room opened. Lu Qingmei and Takashi walked in just in time to see this explosive scene. Takashi's eyes flashed with killing intent. Lu Qingmei stared with wide eyes and coughed a few times, but it was completely drowned out by the applause. She couldn't help but secretly shake her head. These two really had a lot of guts. When other people finally saw Lu Qingmei, the applause immediately disappeared. Even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard. "You two have a lot of guts," Lu Qingmei said. Fang Shishir looked as if she was struck by lightning. Her lips parted and she jumped out of Tang Zheng's embrace like a frightened deer. She looked at Lu Qingmei with embarrassment. Tang Zheng's skin was thick. He didn't look embarrassed at all. He naturally and generously said, "Teacher Lu, you came. Pay attention to your image. Don't think that just because you graduated, I can't control you." Lu Qingmei deliberately said with a straight face. Tang Zheng shrugged his shoulders. He knew that Lu Qingmei wasn't angry. He pulled Fang Shishir back to their seats. No one expected Fang Shishir to come. The atmosphere suddenly became cold and cheerless. Takashi picked up the microphone and said, "Let's ask Teacher Lu to say a few words, okay?" "Okay." Applause sounded from all around. Lu Qingmei took the microphone and said, "We have known each other for 3 years. In these 3 years, I have watched everyone grow up. I have witnessed everyone's youth. This is my greatest honor. Maybe some people are envious of me because my class is in the top 3 of the province. But I want to say that I am not only proud of the 3 of them, but also of our class as a whole. I am even more proud of you. I have seen the spirit of struggle in you. I have seen the miracles you have created. I have seen your unyielding willpower. In the past, other people said that our class was trash. But this time, our college entrance exam results gave them a fierce slap in the face. We are not trash. We can also do well as long as we work hard enough." At that time, Lu Qingmei used Qiao Fei's mother to call everyone trash as an opportunity to arouse the passion of the class. Today, everyone handed in perfect answers. Lu Qingmei was truly happy for them. Walala. This time, the applause was even more intense. This was because they weren't applauding for others, but for themselves. They were applauding for their hard work. Many people's eyes were already red as they recalled their hard work. It was worth it. Tonight, we are not teacher and student. We are friends. Everyone, drink to your heart's content and have fun. Lu Qingmei put down the microphone and sat next to Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng gave him a thumbs up and praised. "Well said." Lu Qingmei glanced at him and said, "Of course." Tang Zheng had never seen this little cheeky side of her. He couldn't help but stare blankly for a moment before asking in a low voice, "I heard that the school is preparing to promote Takashi?" "Yes. You and Fang Shishir aren't willing to show their faces in public. But the school still wants to set up a role model. Of course, this spot will fall on his head. This time, Takashi did so well. Aren't you surprised?" Lu Qingmei wrinkled her eyebrows and said, "I am a bit surprised. But with you as a precedent, it doesn't seem to be that surprising." Tang Zheng bitterly smiled. He, who was the last in the class, became the top scorer. It seemed that Takashi, who was the third in the class, wasn't too strange. At this time, Takashi walked over with a glass of wine. Chapter 196. Teacher Lu, let me give you a toast. Takashi raised his glass and said. Lu Qingmei took the glass and said, Takashi, congratulations to you this time. Before, everyone was wrong about you. Takashi did not mind and said, everyone has times when they are wrong. Moreover, the reason why I am able to obtain today's results is all because of Teacher Lu's teachings. Tang Zhang calmly listened to the conversation. Takashi had changed from his usual domineering self to a refined and courteous one. It was as if he was a completely different person. The two people lightly clinked their glasses and drank the wine in one gulp. Then, Takashi filled Tang Zhang's glass with wine and said, Tang Zhang, the two of us had some misunderstandings before. I hope that after drinking this glass of wine, we can forget about it. How about it? Everyone looked over and heard Takashi's words. Many people secretly nodded their heads. Takashi's attitude was truly admirable. Many people had already changed their attitude towards him. Tang Zhang calmly looked at his eyes. He wanted to find some clues from his swollen eyes, but in the end, he discovered that it was all in vain. Tang Zhang raised his glass and said, I also hope that everyone can live in harmony. After drinking this glass of wine, Takashi walked away and mingled with the others. Gradually, he became the main character. Feng Yong angrily said, Boss, no circle plus? To be able to make him so glorious, you should be the center of attention. Tang Zhang stopped Feng Yong and said, It's fine. Lu Qingmei praised. They were originally classmates. What kind of hatred could there be? Takashi's actions were the most appropriate. I now have a whole new level of respect for him. If he continues to maintain this state, his future achievements will not be simple. In the past, the school thought that Takashi was a well-deserved figure, but now it seems that the hidden and unfathomable Takashi is even more powerful. Feng Yong curled his lips and said, Teacher Lu, I think you must have seen wrongly. I know what kind of person Takashi is. Even if he pretends to be refined and courteous, it will not change his nature. A wolf in human skin is still a wolf in the end. Lu Qingmei frowned and said, Feng Yong, as the class monitor, how can you judge people like that? Everyone has a good side. As long as they are willing to change, they are good people. Feng Yong wanted to argue, but Tang Zhang stopped him and said, Let's wait and see. This time, everyone had a good time at the party. Many people were drunk. In the end, even Lu Qingmei clinked glasses with most of the people. She drank until her eyes were blurred. She held Tang Zhang's arm and hung half of her body on him. Teacher Lu, I'll send you back. Takashi also showed a drunken state. He seemed to be doing his best to stay awake as he politely said to Lu Qingmei. Lu Qingmei rubbed her forehead with her white fingers and nodded her head saying, Okay, goodbye everyone. Go home early and rest. Remember to come back to school in 2 days to fill in your application. Everyone nodded their heads and watched as Takashi and Lu Qingmei left in a taxi. Fang Shishir urged, Let's go home too. I'm dizzy and want to sleep. Tang Jing nodded his head and sent Fang Shishir home. Fang Chonghua and Shi Mingqin saw the two people reeking of alcohol and immediately asked, Why did you drink so much? Fang Shishir squeezed out a smile and said, Our class is having a party. We're happy. Shishir, your mom will help you to rest. I'll chat with Tang Zhang for a bit. Fang Chonghua said, Oh, got it. After Fang Shishir entered the house, Fang Chonghua brought Tang Zhang to the study and asked, Do you want to drink some hangover tea? No need. I'm not drunk. I heard about your results. Congratulations. I didn't think you'd do so well this time. You're actually the provincial champion. Fang Chonghua sighed. This was even more shocking than when he heard about his own daughter's results. Although Fang Shishir previously said that Tang Zhang was hiding his strength, he still didn't think that he would be this powerful. It was simply beyond his comprehension. I heard that you rejected the school and the education bureau's arrangements? Fang Chonghua suspiciously asked. He was a school board member, so of course he knew about today's storm. Tang Zhang truthfully said, Sure, and I don't like to show our faces in public. The tallest tree in the forest will be the first to be destroyed by the wind. Fang Chenghua's eyes lit up. It's great that you can understand this at such a young age. Many geniuses get carried away after achieving a little and lose their way. In the end, they end up with nothing. In the past, Fang Chonghua had seen Tang Zheng's extraordinary methods, especially his relationship with the underworld. He thought that he would be arrogant at such a young age. He didn't expect him to have this understanding. It was truly commendable and made Fang Chonghua have a whole new level of respect for him. Uncle Fang, you flatter me. I just don't like to be a tool for others. Tang Zheng calmly said. Fang Chonghua clearly understood and laughed. This is something that others can't do anything about. However, it's a win-win situation. But for you, it doesn't exist. You don't need to use this little bit of exposure. It's better for you to take one step at a time. There was one thing that Fang Chonghua did not say, and that was that if Tang Zheng was placed under the spotlight, his relationship with the underworld would be difficult to hide. If this matter were to be exposed, it would only damage his reputation and have the opposite effect. What are your plans for the future? I will go to Yinqing University. Fang Chonghua nodded. Yinqing University is really good, but have you ever thought of going abroad to study? Tang Zheng looked at him in astonishment, shook his head and said, I have never considered studying abroad. Shir wants to study abroad. If you can't bear to part with her, I can let you study abroad with her. You don't have to worry about the fees and procedures. Fang Chonghua said. Tang Zheng suddenly realized that the other party had this idea. But from his words, it showed that he had completely approved of the relationship between Tang Zheng and Fang Shir. Since you and Shir are together, I will certainly consider your future. Studying abroad is a good choice. In the future, whether it's abroad or in China, the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. Fang Chonghua analyzed for him. Tang Zheng shook his head without hesitation. His life was destined to be different from others. After graduation, he couldn't work, marry, and have children. But this matter couldn't be told to Fang Chonghua, so he said, Uncle Fang, thank you for your good intentions. At this stage, I still want to stay in China. Fang Chonghua sighed and said, Then at this stage, you will be separated from Shir. Are you mentally prepared? Tang Zheng nodded. I have already considered it. Since studying abroad is Shir's long-cherished wish since she was young, I will naturally respect her wishes. You should know that if I let her stay in China, she will definitely disregard your dissuasion and stay in China with me. But that would be too selfish of me. Since I like her, I will definitely let her achieve her wish. Fang Chonghua couldn't help but sit up straight. Once again, he looked at Tang Zheng with a scrutinizing gaze. Tang Zheng had surprised him again tonight. Just his breadth of mind made Fang Chonghua have a whole new level of respect for him. Tang Zheng, I have to say that I appreciate you more and more. I am very glad that Shir has your love and care. I am even more glad that I didn't insist on separating the two of you. Fang Chonghua sincerely sighed. Tang Zheng smiled. Uncle Fang is too kind. I only did what I should do. Fang Chonghua shook his head and said, No, you did far more than that. I promise you that as long as you are still together when you graduate from university, I will hold a grand wedding for you too. Thank you, Uncle Fang. Tang Zheng was a little excited. This was the affirmation that he dreamt of. Although he once said that no matter what, no one could stop him and Fang Shir from being together. But after all, with the affirmation and blessing of his parents, this kind of relationship would be more perfect. Uncle Fang, after the college entrance exam voluntary form is completed, Shir and I will travel for a period of time. No problem. You have worked hard for so many years, so it is time for you to relax. Do you need me to make some arrangements? Tang Zheng shook his head. No need. I will arrange everything and ensure Shir's safety. I believe you. Right. My company's demolition work has been completed. Thanks to Boss's help. She has been too busy during this time, and I did not have time to properly thank her. If you have time, help me thank her. No problem. She has been a little busy during this time. Her business is getting bigger and bigger. This construction company is no longer her focus. Fang Chonghua raised his eyebrows and said, Oh, I did not know that Bosswa had expanded her business. Uncle Fang, since you are in the real estate industry, if you need her construction company, I will ask her to transfer it to you. Tang Zheng said it casually as if he was talking about a simple matter. But to Feng Chonghua, it was no less than a heavy bomb. He did not think that Tang Zheng was deliberately bragging. Tang Zheng dared to say such words. That meant that he had full confidence. Moreover, that understatement made it seem as if the construction company was his. But how was this possible? Tang Zheng was after all only a student. Even if he had a good relationship with people in the underworld, it should not be to this extent. With just a few words, he was able to make the other party transfer a business worth tens of millions to someone else. Seeing that he did not respond, Tang Zheng curiously asked, Uncle Feng, do you have any objections? Feng Chonghua took a deep breath and suppressed the complex emotions in his heart. He shook his head and said, I do not need it. Boss Was Construction Company has a group of demolition workers. I do not have the ability to control that group of people, so it is better for me to properly take care of my current company. When I need them, I will cooperate with them. Oh, that is also fine. In the future, if you have any problems, you can directly find Fire Phoenix. I will give her a call. Tang Zheng's tone was as casual as before. Feng Chonghua could not see through him. But regarding matters of the underworld, it was not convenient for him to ask. However, he was certain that his future son-in-law was far more complicated and powerful than he imagined. Tang Zheng said his goodbyes and left. Feng Chonghua stared at the door in a daze until Shi Mingqin called him. What did he say about Shir going abroad? He took the initiative to agree. Wow, that's great. Luckily he agreed, otherwise this matter would be troublesome. He is far more powerful than you and I imagined. In the future, you must be careful and not provoke him. I think our daughter will not be marrying down but climbing up his social ladder. Feng Chonghua meaningfully said. Climbing up his social ladder? Shi Mingqin was in disbelief as she stared dumbstruck. Tang Zheng left the Feng family. In his heart, the scene of Takashi sending Lu Qingmei home flashed. His heart suddenly felt a trace of unease. Chapter 197. This feeling of uneasiness was getting stronger and stronger, which made Tang Zheng upset. He frowned and looked in the direction of Lu Qingmei's house. Under the dark night sky, of course, he couldn't see the situation there. However, in order to calm the uneasiness in his heart, he decided to take a look. A moment later, he came downstairs of Lu Qingmei's house. He looked up and saw that her house was lit. He breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that his nerves were too sensitive. He had arrived home safely. However, for Takashi, Tang Zheng was always worried. Since he was here, he would go up and confirm. So, he went upstairs to her door. Knock, knock, knock. He knocked on the door and waited for a long time, but no one responded. He immediately frowned. He knew that Lu Qingmei didn't have the habit of sleeping with the light on. Since the light was on, she must be awake. It was impossible for her to ignore the knock on the door. Sister Mei, are you at home? Tang Zheng asked, but there was still no response. The room was in a strange silence. Something happened. His heart jumped, and without hesitation, he urged his true qi into the door lock. Click. The true qi was like a universal key, and it opened the door lock in an instant. He was careful. He flashed into the house and looked around. He didn't find any suspicious people, and there was no sign of Lu Qingmei in the living room. Suddenly, there was a movement in the bedroom. It seemed that someone's voice was heard. Tang Zheng rushed into the bedroom and found that Lu Qingmei was lying on the bed. Her clothes were messy, her face was red, her eyes were blurred, and she was panting. Tang Zheng quickly looked around, but there was still no one else. The window was wide open, and the night wind blew the curtains, making a rustling sound. He immediately came to the windowsill and looked out. There was only the dark night, and no one was there. This was a high-rise with more than 10 floors. If someone escaped from here, they would be smashed to pieces, unless the other party was a master. He closed the window, drew the curtains, and then came to the bed. He found that Lu Qingmei was tearing her clothes with both hands. She cried in a daze, I'm so uncomfortable, so hot. Tang Zheng immediately understood that she had been drugged. But who did it? Takashi? It seemed unlikely. How could Gao Daji, that three-legged cat, jumped down from such a high floor? Wasn't that looking for death? But who else could it be except him? Tang Zheng was confused, but no matter who it was, he must have jumped out of the window, so it must be an expert. When did an expert thief come to ordinary balance? Lu Qingmei's moans interrupted his thoughts. The ice goddess had completely melted, becoming passionate like fire. Tang Zheng quickly supported her and prepared to dispel the drug. But Lu Qingmei immediately wrapped her arms around his neck and pressed her towering chest tightly against his chest. She breathed out, stretched her neck, and pressed her lips on Tang Zheng's mouth. The gentle touch made Tang Zheng's mind ripple. There was no doubt that Lu Qingmei was a very seductive woman, especially her almost mature body, which was very different from Feng Shishir. She was more flirtatious and could stir the fire in a man's heart. In any case, Tang Zheng's fire was stirred up, and the pure yang energy began to stir again. The true qi was restless, and it was almost boiling in his meridians. This fragrance made him suffer unspeakably. He used all his willpower to suppress his desire, and then wanted to break away from her, but he was careless and Lu Qingmei broke through his defense. A fragrant little tongue drilled into his mouth, wantonly demanding. There was no doubt that Lu Qingmei took the initiative, and this temptation was too difficult to resist. The defense that Tang Zheng had just established collapsed in an instant. His hands couldn't help but hug her waist, and then all the way up, climbing the 2 peaks. He had seen the soul-stirring charm of these 2 peaks with his own eyes. Now that his hands were covering them, it was difficult for him to grasp them. Lu Qingmei felt his response and became even more enthusiastic. One of her hands reached down and grabbed Tang Zheng's lower body. Tang Zheng quivered and suddenly woke up. What am I doing? Taking advantage of other people's difficulties? Am I still human? He hurriedly pushed Lu Qingmei away and found that her cheeks were red, and her eyes were almost dripping with water. Desire had completely occupied her mind. Tang Zheng quickly used his true qi to force the drug out of her body. Lu Qingmei was very uncooperative and entangled with him, testing his restraint. After a while, Tang Zheng had to stop using his true qi, because he found that it was in vain. His true qi could not force the drug out of her body. Instead, it stimulated the drug, making Lu Qingmei's reaction more intense. Her whole body was hot, as if she was going to burn. She tore her clothes violently. In an instant, her clothes were torn, revealing the black bra inside. I'm so uncomfortable, Tang Zheng, save me, Lu Qingmei whispered. Tang Zheng was shocked. She was still conscious and recognized him, so he quickly patted her cheek and cried, Sister Mei, I'm here, don't be afraid. She immediately grabbed Tang Zheng's hand, and like a soft water snake, she wrapped her legs around Tang Zheng's waist, making him unable to move. Tang Zheng did not know whether to laugh or cry. She had not regained her consciousness and only subconsciously called out his name. Perhaps the last time he saved her from Song Donghua's hands, he left a shadow in her subconscious, making her subconsciously seek his help when she was in danger. However, Tang Zheng was helpless this time. He was unable to force the drug out of her body. If he did not treat her, she would be tortured to death by the strong drug. In fact, the antidote was very simple. If he had a relationship with her, everything would be solved. Although Tian Chanzi had instigated him countless times to take down Lu Qingmei, he would occasionally have this idea. But facing the current Lu Qingmei, he hesitated because she was under the control of the drug and not out of her own free will. Lu Qingmei had already untied her bra, and 2 peaks stood in front of him. She was only left with a small pair of underwear. Her alluring body was unreservedly displayed in front of him. Her skin was suffused with a layer of attractive rosy luster. No matter which man faced this kind of temptation, they would be beastly. Tang Zheng was also in a dilemma. To do it or not to do it? If he did not do it, then Lu Qingmei's life would be in danger. If he did it, then he would be taking advantage of her. When Lu Qingmei woke up, what would he do? How would he face her? Lu Qingmei did not give him any chance to think. While shouting for Tang Zheng to hug her, she also sent her lips forward. Her hands began to tear apart Tang Zheng's clothes. The Zhen Qi in Tang Zheng's body was completely mobilized. It was like a wild horse galloping in his body, and the pure yang power completely erupted. Lu Qingmei had a mysterious body, which was more suitable for him than Fang Shishi's physique. The two were in such close contact, which was a fatal temptation to the pure yang power in Tang Zheng's body. The flower thief would never have thought that his prey would finally fall into the hands of Tang Zheng. Such a great beauty had been taken advantage of by Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng made up his mind to save her. Even if she woke up and wanted to kill him, that would be a matter for the future. Compared to her life, even if she blamed him for a lifetime, he would not complain. Tang Zheng, hold on tight. Lu Qingmei continued. Tang Zheng's heart moved. She shouted as if she was awake, or was she actually interested in him? He shook his head, abandoned these absurd thoughts, and hugged her body tightly. His hands began to wander around her body. Suddenly, her breathing became louder, and the two were tightly entwined together. Lu Qingmei's body did not have a trace of excess fat, and her skin was as delicate as a piece of porcelain. When Tang Zheng removed her last bit of clothing, the two were naked. Lu Qingmei could not wait to ride on his body, letting out a cry of pain, and her eyebrows could not help but wrinkle. Tang Zheng was shocked. She was actually a virgin. He originally thought that at her age, she should have had a boyfriend, but he did not expect that Tang Zheng was her first man. Tang Zheng felt guilty. He hugged her waist, wanting to be gentler with her, but she did not give him the chance. She crazily moved, as if this was the only way to dispel the desire in her heart. Pain and happiness were the most realistic portrayal of her at this moment. She was like a volcano, and the energy that she had accumulated in the past erupted at this moment. The enthusiasm released made Tang Zheng a little surprised. Tang Zheng gradually immersed himself in this wonderful state, and he clearly felt the continuous purine energy passing into his body from the place where the two were connected, and finally hovering in his dantian. This time, there was too much purine energy, and it was not completely neutralized with his pure yang energy. There was actually a part of it left. This was something that had never happened before. Tang Zheng looked at everything in surprise, not knowing what would happen next. In fact, this moment did not allow him to think. The strong stimulation had already made his body and mind fall into it. He turned over and pressed Lu Qingmei under his body, taking control of the situation. Lu Qingmei hugged his broad and advantageous shoulders, opened her mouth wide, and moaned to her heart's content, completely filling the room. Dozens of minutes later, in the midst of the two people's high-pitched cries, everything returned to calm. Tang Zheng felt an even more powerful purine energy enter his dantian, and finally hovered above his dantian and became motionless. This was the purest purine energy. If his pure yang energy erupted in the future, then he could use this purine energy to balance it. This surprise was too big, causing Tang Zheng to go wild with joy. Tian Chanzi was really right. Her physique is far more suitable for me than Shishi. Just as he was thinking, the beauty under him moved again. The desire in her eyes did not completely disappear, and she wriggled on her own. Again? Tang Zheng secretly sighed. Since he wanted to save someone, he had to help them to the end. Since that was the case, then let's continue. Fortunately, Tang Zheng's physical strength was outstanding, and he had the divine power to protect his body. His ability in this aspect was also able to withstand the test. In an instant, the two people became one again, and together they went through the mountain of Wu. Unconsciously, the desire in Lu Qingmei's eyes gradually dissipated. Looking at Tang Zheng galloping on top of her, her eyes widened, and she screamed. Chapter 198. Lu Qingmei screamed and stared blankly at Tang Zheng, who was on top of her. Fairy Search, download novel for free. Tang Zheng was shocked, took a deep breath, and immediately stopped moving. He was almost scared to impotence. Tang Zheng, what are you doing? Lu Qingmei took a long time to calm down and asked in shock. I. Tang Zheng was speechless. He didn't realize that Lu Qingmei had regained her consciousness, so he looked at her blankly and didn't know what to do. Tears came out of Lu Qingmei's eyes. She clearly felt that there was something more in her body. Of course, she knew what it was. Moreover, the tearing pain in her lower body and the tide-like pleasure were so clear that they reached the deepest part of her heart. Sister May, I'm saving you. After a long time, Tang Zheng said with a thick face, "Saving me?" Lu Qingmei's voice involuntarily raised a few octaves, and her eyes were burning. "Is this how you save people? Hurry up and get off of me." With that, she wanted to push Tang Zheng with her hand, but found that her body was sore and weak. Tang Zheng resentfully got off her body. Lu Qingmei saw the tall little guy at close range and quickly covered her eyes with the quilt. Her heart was in a mess. What was going on? Didn't she attend the party and then be sent home by Takashi? Then Takashi left. She couldn't remember what happened after that. When she woke up, she found that Tang Zheng was doing that kind of thing with her. The ice goddess was about to collapse. What was going on? "Sister May, listen to me. I'm really saving you. It's not what you think," Tang Zheng explained earnestly. "If this matter is not explained clearly, it will be very troublesome." Lu Qingmei glanced at him and found that he was naked. She quickly shouted, "Put on your clothes quickly." Tang Zheng was helpless and quickly put on his clothes. However, his shirt was torn open by Lu Qingmei. Even if he put it on, his hard chest was exposed. Seeing that Tang Zheng had finally covered his important parts, Lu Qingmei wrapped herself in the blanket, then stared at him and asked, "Tang Zheng, I was so good to you in vain, but you did such a beastly thing. Are you worthy of me?" Tang Zheng complained incessantly. "How have I wronged you? If I had wronged you, I wouldn't have specially come to see you." Therefore, he hurriedly explained, "Sister May, listen to me. It's not what you think. I sent Shirshir home and felt a little uneasy, so I came to see you. I didn't expect that no one would answer when I knocked, so I broke the door open and came in. I found you lying on the bed, drugged. Then you took the opportunity to do that kind of thing to me, didn't you? Tang Zheng, I really misjudged you." Lu Qingmei's tears still couldn't stop flowing, like broken pearls. Tang Zheng quickly shook his head and denied, "No, I wanted to save you, but I couldn't get rid of the drug in your body, and the situation was urgent. If I didn't take action, you would definitely be tortured to death by the drug. In order to save you, I did that kind of thing. Do you think I will believe you? Why didn't you send me to the hospital? I think you have ulterior motives." Lu Qingmei choked and said. Tang Zheng couldn't defend himself. He couldn't say that he was a cultivator and could accurately judge her physical condition, not to mention that Lu Qingmei was an ordinary person. Even if he said it, she didn't know what the identity of a cultivator was. "You have nothing to say, right? If I really wanted to take advantage of you, why didn't I do it when I slept in the same bed with you before? Why would I wait until now?" Tang Zheng was at his wit's end and could only say this. Lu Qingmei was suddenly startled, remembering her previous intimate actions with Tang Zheng. It was indeed, as he said, the last time she was rescued, she took the initiative to sleep in the same bed with him, and he was very obedient and didn't act unruly at all. But the key was that this time it really happened, and fact spoke louder than words. "Since you keep saying that I was drugged, did you catch the person who drugged me?" Lu Qingmei asked again. Tang Zheng shook his head. "No, he should have escaped through the window." Lu Qingmei glanced at the window and said, "This is a 10-story building. Is that person an idiot? Isn't he afraid of falling to pieces if he jumped down?" "A powerful person jumped down. Nothing will happen," Tang Zheng said truthfully. "Humph, lying to me. How could anyone do it?" Lu Qingmei obviously didn't believe him. Tang Zheng had no choice but to simply walk to the window. Lu Qingmei was shocked and asked, "What are you doing?" "Since you say that no one can do it, then I'll do it for you." Tang Zheng opened the window and jumped down. Lu Qingmei was stunned for a moment. The cold wind blew in from the window, making her shiver. Suddenly, she screamed and couldn't wait to rush from the bed to the window, shouting, "Tang Zheng, Tang Zheng, whoosh!" Tang Zheng jumped in through the window again, unharmed. But in the next moment, he was stunned and stared straight at Lu Qingmei. When she rushed out of bed, she was actually naked. Although he had seen it many times just now, it was still very tempting to see it now. Lu Qingmei followed his gaze and immediately saw her naked appearance. She screamed again and subconsciously kicked at Tang Zheng. Ouch! The pain of having her melon broken and being tormented by Tang Zheng was not light. She couldn't stand on one foot and fell to the side. Tang Zheng's eyes were sharp and his hands were fast. He caught her, but his hands covered her towering breasts. Time seemed to stop at this moment. The two people who were so close looked at each other, staring at each other. "You beast!" Lu Qingmei finally reacted and threw a slap. Tang Zheng ducked and dodged, but his face was almost pressed against her breasts. His posture was even more ambiguous. Lu Qingmei was embarrassed and angry. She shouted, "Tang Zheng, you beast!" She raised her leg and kicked at Tang Zheng's lower body. Tang Zheng's body trembled. How could he let her succeed? Otherwise, he would lose his little brother, and there would be no hope for his sexual happiness for the rest of his life. Tang Zheng's movements were very fast as he grabbed onto her slender and beautiful legs. At this moment, the two of them were in an even more ambiguous position. One of Tang Zheng's hands went under her ribs and held onto her chest, while the other hand grabbed onto one of her legs that was raised up high. Her body was unreservedly displayed in front of him, especially that mysterious triangular area that was clearly visible. Lu Qingmei felt that she really wanted to find a hole to hide in. She had lived for more than 20 years since she was young, and she had never been so humiliated and suffered such a loss. Seeing Tang Zheng's eyes on her, she quickly roared, "Tang Zheng, let me go quickly or I will kill you." Seeing that she wanted to kill him, Tang Zheng certainly couldn't let her go. He said, "Sister Mei, if you promise me to calm down and listen to me, I will let you go." "I don't want to listen to your quibble," Lu Qingmei flatly denied. "Then I don't dare to let go. Let's explain it this way. You listen to me and see if it makes sense." Tang Zheng didn't care about this ambiguous posture and the tempting scenery in front of him. He took a deep breath and tried to suppress the restless flame in his body. He said in a deep voice, "You just saw me jump out of the window, but I was unscathed. Since I can do it, naturally there are others who can do it. So this is really a misunderstanding. Someone else wanted to harm you, but I happened to run away." "Quibble, then why did you come to my house? Didn't I explain it just now? I felt uneasy after I left Shirshir's house. To tell you the truth, I was worried that Takashi would send you home. I was worried that he would do something bad to you, so I came to see." Lu Qingmei blushed. "You dare to question Takashi. This time it was clearly you who did such a thing. I think you are not as good as Takashi. Sister Mei, calm down. Let's think about who drugged you. Of course it was you. Who else? Where is Takashi? He took me home and left. Don't frame others." Lu Qingmei said angrily. "He left?" Tang Zheng wrinkled his eyebrows. This time, the situation was too strange. Even if it was a flower thief, why did he have to take action against her tonight? In short, there were too many things that Tang Zheng could not understand. "Sister Mei, I will definitely investigate this matter and give you an explanation," Tang Zheng said solemnly. Lu Qingmei looked at the ambiguous posture between the two and angrily said, "What investigation? It is clearly you who did the bad thing. Quickly let go of me. Otherwise, I will bite my tongue and commit suicide. I will no longer be insulted by you." Seeing Lu Qingmei's determined look, Tang Zheng was afraid that she would do something drastic. He quickly let go of his hand and stepped back. He sincerely said, "Sister Mei, please believe me. This time I really did this to save you. You took advantage of me and still made up such a grand reason. Do you think I am a fool? Do you think I will believe it?" Lu Qingmei said while gnashing her teeth. Tang Zheng secretly sighed and said, "Whether you believe it or not, I have no other choice. The only thing I can do is to catch the real flower thief as soon as possible." "You are the biggest flower thief. You still have the nerve to say that you want to catch others. This is really a thief crying thief." Tang Zheng was helpless and said, "Since you think so, then I have nothing to say. What do you want to do? Do you want to sue me for rape?" "Yes, this is rape. You are already 18 years old. You have to pay the price." Lu Qingmei fiercely said, "Do you want me to go to jail?" Lu Qingmei froze for a moment. Her heart was in a mess. She did not know what to do. Tang Zheng once saved her from Song Donghua's hands. Moreover, their relationship was getting better and better. She never thought that there would be a day like this. For a moment, she did not know how to face it. Seeing that she did not say a word, Tang Zheng was relieved and said, "Sister Mei, no matter what you think, please give me some time. Let me investigate clearly and I will give you an explanation. Lu Qingmei looked at him with burning eyes. She clenched her teeth and her eyes kept changing. After a long time, she coldly said, I do not need your explanation. I just want you to disappear from my life. Disappear forever. Chapter 199. Disappear forever. Tang Zheng stared at her blankly. Were they going to disappear from each other's lives because of this? What are you still standing here for? Let go of me. Get lost. I don't want to see you again. Sogu, 360. So search JDXS to download novels for free. Lu Qingmei said coldly. Tang Zheng was helpless. He looked at her deeply and let go. Then you should rest first. Call me if you need anything. I'll rush over immediately. Lu Qingmei was indifferent. Tang Zheng left awkwardly. Lu Qingmei suddenly squatted on the floor naked and started crying. She looked at the door with tears in her eyes. Why did all of this happen? Her heart was in a mess. Was all of this really a trap set up by Tang Zheng? But this was not in line with his usual behavior at all. Actually, she had subconsciously believed what Tang Zheng said, but she couldn't face the relationship between the two of them. They actually had the most intimate relationship. How was she going to face Tang Zheng in the future? She didn't know, so she didn't want to see him. She was like a helpless little girl, sobbing until her voice became hoarse. She stood up shakily. The pain in her body was still too. It was so clear, as if it was reminding her of everything that had happened with Tang Zheng. She shook her head hard and then rushed into the bathroom. She let the cold water pour down, but it couldn't wash away this matter. Things couldn't go back to square one. I have to leave here. I don't want to see Tang Zheng again. She clenched her teeth and made a decision. She used to treat Tang Zheng as her very close little brother, but now it seemed that it was only a short relationship. Now everything had collapsed. Tang Zheng went home and tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Everything that happened tonight was too strange. He had sex with Lu Qingmei, and their relationship had changed drastically. He didn't know what Lu Qingmei would do in the end. If this relationship was exposed, what would happen to him? All of this was like a tangled mess that kept churning in his mind, making him extremely annoyed. There was another thing that puzzled him. Logically speaking, his true qi should be able to force out the medicine. But this time he failed. Why? He tossed and turned, unable to sleep the entire night. Little Zhang, it's time to eat breakfast. Grandfather knocked on the door and shouted. Tang Zheng got up and asked casually, Grandpa, how's the business at the acquisition center these days? Tang Dahai smiled. Business is very good. Everyone is very grateful to you. By the way, when I came back yesterday, I saw a lot of people blocking the entrance of the neighborhood. I don't know what happened. They're here for me. Looking for you? Tang Dahai was shocked. Grandpa, I haven't had the time to tell you something. My college entrance exam results are out. Tang Dahai put down his chopsticks and asked nervously, how was the exam? 740 points, first in the province. Tang Dahai was dumbfounded. First in the province? Is that true? Seeing Tang Zheng nod, Tang Dahai cried with joy. The heavens have eyes. You've worked so hard for so many years, and you've finally reaped the rewards. Top scorer. In the past, you could have been a big official. Tang Zheng laughed. Grandpa, that was in the past. Now I can only go to a good university. Same. Those reporters want to interview you? Yes, but I don't want to pay attention to them. I like a quiet life. Tang Dahai thought for a moment and said, well, we're children from poor families. There's no need to go on TV. It's best to go to school. But I want to tell this good news to my old friends and let them be happy. After breakfast, Tang Zheng couldn't wait to find Tian Chanzi. Hey kid, what did you do last night? Tian Chanzi stared at him and asked curiously. Tang Zheng was startled. How did Tian Chanzi know that he did something unusual last night? It stands to reason that his cultivation hasn't broken through, so Tian Chanzi shouldn't have discovered anything strange. Kid, you still want to hide it from me? The pure yang energy in your body is so quiet. This is rare. Something must have happened last night, Tian Chanzi said with certainty. Tang Zheng suddenly realized that the pure yang energy had been exposed. Last night, He had absorbed a large amount of purine energy, and now there was still a portion of it hovering in his dantian, so the pure yang energy was naturally well-behaved. Did you absorb enough purine energy from somewhere? Tian Chanzi guessed, and it could be said that he saw blood. Tang Zheng was a little embarrassed. Tian Chanzi's eyes lit up and he laughed. Haha, kid, you didn't really take Lu Qingmei, did you? Tang Jing said with a wry smile. Lower your voice. Do you want everyone to know? Tian Chanzi patted his shoulder and praised. Hey, you finally understand. It seems that I didn't advise you so many times in vain. There is a huge difference between a profoundine body and a purine body. No wonder your pure yang energy was suppressed. Let me tell you, at least for a short time, your pure yang energy won't cause any trouble. Tang Jing said with surprise, really? Of course, this time your harvest is not small. Not bad, you can be taught. Work harder. When you see that girl Yi Ding Ding again, you can also take her down. That would be perfect, Tian Chanzi said. Tang Zheng rolled his eyes and said, if Shishir knew you said that, she would definitely not want to recognize you as her master. Tian Chanzi was not afraid of his threat and said, how could my disciple deceive his master and destroy his ancestors for such a trivial matter? Why don't you quickly tell me what happened last night? How did you suddenly become enlightened? This is not your style. Tian Chanzi and Tang Zheng had been together for a long time, so he still understood him very well. Tang Zheng did not hide anything and told him what happened last night. Tian Chanzi suddenly realized, so that's what happened. It seems that the flower thief also helped you. Don't make sarcastic remarks. Right now I am annoyed. Only by finding this flower thief can I wash away the injustice. How do I know who the flower thief is? Tian Chanzi said doubtfully. Of course I know you don't know, but this time there are many strange things. You are experienced and knowledgeable, so help me analyze it. For example, why was I unable to force the drug out of her body with true qi? This was a question that had been troubling him. Perhaps this question could be answered. Then he could find clues and follow the vine to the melon to find the flower thief. If it was an ordinary drug, true qi can indeed be forced out. But in the cultivation world, there are similar aphrodisiacs, such as the Haohuan powder, which cannot be forced out with true qi. You mean that the flower thief is also a cultivator? Tang Zheng was surprised. 9 out of 10. Otherwise, if he jumped from that building, he would have been smashed to pieces. This point also shows that the other party is a master. But I can be sure that this person's cultivation is not very good. Otherwise, he would not have been scared away by you. Boy, you took advantage of him, Tian Chanzi obviously did not have much hostility towards this flower thief. On the contrary, he felt that the other party had helped Tang Zheng a great deal. Tang Zheng did not think so. Although he did take advantage of the situation, his relationship with Lu Qingmei was not something he wanted to see. Tian Chanzi, since this person is also a cultivator, then we should find him. After all, maybe we can get more information about other cultivators from him. Tang Zheng suggested. Tian Chanzi's heart was moved. He nodded and said, that's a good idea. Then we must find this flower thief. But there is a little difficulty. Since you beat the grass to scare the snake, it shows that the other party is an extremely cautious person. It is absolutely not easy to find him. Then what about the Haohuan powder? Where did this thing come from? Tian Chanzi said. This thing is made by mixing several kinds of pollen together and then refining it with a special method. It is not too complicated. You can also refine it. How about you go and refine some and keep it as a backup? Tang Zheng rolled his eyes at him and said, Tian Chanzi, can you not be so wretched? Am I the kind of person who uses drugs? Yes, you don't use drugs. You pick up the leftovers. That's why I have always said that your luck is exploding. Tang Zheng ignored the other party's ridicule. After thinking for a while, he still shook his head. I still have to investigate this matter. Then I will start with Takashi. Since he was the last person who sent Sister Mei home, maybe he knows something. Up to you, but remember, while the pure yang power in your body is suppressed, cultivate well and quickly improve your cultivation. Don't you still want to learn so many spells? I know. You go to Shishir today and teach her spells. I will go to Takashi. Tang Zheng waved his hand and went directly to the school. Yesterday, he heard that Takashi would be interviewed at the school, so he went to stop him. When he came to the school, there was no need to look for him at all. In front of the teaching building, Takashi was surrounded by a group of reporters and was being interviewed. He spoke with assurance and was full of confidence. The principal and the director of the Education Bureau also stood next to him. The three of them echoed each other and were very confident, causing many passing students to stop and watch. When someone saw Tang Zheng coming over, there was a lot of discussion. The fact that Tang Zheng, the top scorer, refused to be interviewed had caused a storm in the school. Many people felt that Takashi, the temporary replacement guy, was too lucky to have such a good opportunity to be famous. Some people felt that Tang Zheng was a fool and wasted such a good opportunity. Tang Zheng ignored other people's pointing, but when he walked over, the interview just ended and the reporters began to withdraw. Tang Zheng suddenly stopped in front of Takashi and said calmly, Takashi, I have something to talk to you about. The Education Bureau leader snorted and said disdainfully, What? Do you regret it now? Serves you right. This is the result of not cooperating. Tang Zheng was too lazy to pay attention to the other party. He stared at Takashi and said, Come with me, I have something to ask you. The director of the Education Bureau saw that he was being ignored and couldn't help but fly into a rage. What kind of attitude is this? Takashi, don't go with him. Mixing with this kind of person who doesn't know what's good for you will not help in the future. Chapter 200. Takashi lightly smiled and said, Don't worry, Chief. I'll be right back. Then he followed Tang Zheng to the side of the school building. Tang Zheng stared at him intensely, trying to discern how much of his smile was real and how much was fake. But he always had a smile on his face, making it hard for others to see through him. He really changed. Tang Zheng said, Tang Zheng, why are you looking for me? Takashi asked. Tang Zheng went straight to the point and asked, Did anything happen after you sent Teacher Lu home last night? Takashi blankly looked at him. No. Did something happen? Takashi, there's only the two of us here, so there's no need to pretend. It's not like I don't know how much you hated me in the past. At that time, Takashi found people to block Tang Zheng at the school gates and was prepared to teach him a lesson. But he was humiliated by Tang Zheng's pressure point technique. Takashi could not take this lying down. Takashi lightly smiled. That's all in the past. Now that we've graduated, I feel that those things are insignificant. As for the conflict between you and me, I also feel that it's not a problem. We're classmates, so why don't we look forward? Takashi's words were very pleasant to hear. But the more he was like this, the more Tang Zheng did not believe him. Suddenly, Tang Zheng's eyes turned cold and became incomparably sharp. He grabbed Takashi's collar and pushed him against the wall. He fiercely said, Takashi, don't play tricks with me. Speak. What are you trying to do by putting on such an act? Takashi lost his head out of fear and shouted, Tang Zheng, what are you doing? I know you can fight and I'm not your opponent, but is there a need for you to do this to a classmate? Takashi's shout attracted the attention of many people. Everyone was watching this good show and discussing spiritedly. Tang Zheng's eyes flashed. This Takashi's disguise was really good, but he wasn't going to let him go just like that. He lifted Takashi's body and slammed it against the wall. Takashi screamed, Tang Zheng, what are you trying to do? What did you do last night? I didn't do anything. You keep asking about last night. What happened last night? Takashi frowned and asked suspiciously. Tang Zheng still couldn't get any useful information from Takashi's expression and words. He couldn't help but feel a little discouraged. This Takashi was far more complicated than he thought. Takashi refused to let go. And looking at his appearance, he really didn't look like a cultivator like Tian Chanzi said. Tang Zheng helplessly put him down and warned, Takashi, no matter what you're planning, I'll keep an eye on you. As he said this, he pointed two fingers at Takashi's eyes. I'm not afraid of you keeping an eye on me. I'll let you keep an eye on me. Takashi said passionately. Tang Zheng coldly snorted. lifted his foot, and walked away. Seeing Tang Jing finally walk away, Takashi's eyes flashed with a strong murderous intent. He coldly muttered, "Last night you ruined my good thing. Lu Qingmei's mysterious body was taken advantage of by you. Wait until I master my divine skill. I'll definitely let you die without a burial." Tang Jing didn't hear Takashi's murderous words. Otherwise, he definitely wouldn't let him go. The trail of the flower thief was cut off just like that. This made Tang Jing very unwilling. Since the other party was a flower thief, Lu Qingmei certainly wasn't the only target. So he immediately ordered Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix to pay attention to the ordinary balance and other similar cases. He wanted to see if they could find any clues. Then, he went to practice spells with Feng Shishir. After spending a lot of effort, he finally learned shrinking earth into an inch. He also made rapid progress in array formation and alchemy, but what made him the happiest was the heaven-flying immortal sword art. The heaven-flying immortal had a total of 6 moves, and each move had 36 styles. When Tang Jing sat cross-legged and operated the heaven-flying immortal sword art, a miniature version of Tang Jing appeared in his mind. He practiced the sword moves according to the sword manual. The first move, 36 styles, was instantly mastered, forming a powerful sword move, Wind Rises and Cloud Surge. These 4 words appeared on the sword manual in his mind. Tang Jing clearly remembered that there were only sword moves in the sword manual in the past. There was no name for the sword move. He didn't expect that after mastering the first move, a name would appear. Tian Chanzi had been silently paying attention to him. Although he didn't move just now, the sword aura emitted from his body made Tian Chanzi's eyes light up. He praised, "Good kid. You've mastered the first move. Wind Rises and Cloud Surge. So quickly." Tang Jing asked curiously, "When you gave me the sword manual, why didn't the sword move have a name? Now that I've learned it, why did it appear?" Tian Chanzi said unfathomably, "This is the extraordinary part of the heaven-flying immortal. Only by mastering the 36 styles of each move will the name of the sword move appear. Heaven-flying immortal is set up in this way. You don't have to be surprised." "Then what are the names of the next 5 moves?" Tang Jing couldn't wait to ask. Tian Chanzi shook his head. "Since I told you that you have to master every move to have a name, then of course I won't tell you. This is the charm of the heaven-flying immortal. When you haven't learned it, you won't be able to comprehend its subtlety. It's like an adventure that requires you to understand and learn step by step." Tang Jing nodded his head in understanding and didn't ask any more questions. The next day, Tang Jing and Feng Shishir went to school to fill in their application form. However, they were surprised to find that Lu Qingmei was no longer in school. They heard that she had resigned and left ordinary balance, which made everyone's jaws drop. Tang Jing was secretly shocked. She must have left ordinary balance because of him. He hurriedly dialed her number, but was told that the number was no longer in service. Tang Jing didn't even need to look for her to know that she must have moved. He sighed inwardly. It turned out that the two of them were really like passers-by in each other's lives. They had quietly disappeared from each other's lives. It made one feel lost. Humph! All of this was caused by that damned flower thief. When I find him, I'll definitely make him suffer. Tang Jing made up his mind. Today, Feng Shishir was obviously not in a good mood. When she saw Tang Jing fill in the application form for Yinqing University, her eyes flashed with a trace of sadness. However, she also resolutely filled in the application form for Yinqing University. Tang Jing looked at her in surprise. He thought that if she wanted to go abroad, she wouldn't fill in the application form. He didn't expect that she would still stubbornly apply to the same school as him. Tang Jing sighed inwardly. It seemed that he had to find time to communicate with her about studying abroad. The next few days were calm. Tang Jing and Feng Shishir didn't have anything to do other than practicing martial arts. During this time, Deng Maokai invited Tang Jing to a meal. Because of his outstanding performance in the rescue operation of Lu Qingmei, he had been promoted from police chief to deputy chief. Deng Maokai understood that all of this was given to him by Tang Jing. Moreover, Tang Jing was Governor Lu's future son-in-law, so he had to curry favor with him even more. As for the flower thief, Lin Hu didn't have any clues. During this period of time, the ordinary balance was a bit strange. However, Takashi was very popular during this period of time. He was almost a household name. He accepted many interviews and appeared on television and newspapers. This made Feng Yong gnash his teeth in hatred. Behind his back, he fought for Tang Zheng's injustice many times. Yi Tianlei and Feng Xinyang called to congratulate Tang Zheng on becoming the top scorer. They also brought him great news about the Marshall Organization. After Marshall returned to the Marshall Organization, she did not wake up. Even the two people who sent her back had died from the yin qi entering their bodies. Ding Yi and the rest had also mysteriously disappeared. The people of the Marshall Organization were confused. They wanted to take revenge but could not find a target. This is why ordinary balance was so peaceful during this period of time. Tang Zheng suddenly realized that Marshall was seriously injured by the Ghost General. She was seriously injured and unconscious. However, if she woke up, the Marshall Organization would know everything. At that time, Tang Zheng would be in danger. Therefore, Tang Zheng's danger was not really eliminated. But this was enough. He had to take advantage of this period of time to make himself strong enough to deal with the crisis that may come in the future. The sun was shining brightly. Tang Zheng and Fang Shishir carried their luggage and said goodbye to Tian Chanzi at the train station. The two of them were about to start their long-prepared trip to Dianan. "Boy, disciple, be careful on the road," Tian Chanzi warned. "Master, you should also be careful. We will miss you," Fang Shishir said with concern. Tian Chanzi laughed. "Don't worry, your master has such a high cultivation. No one can hurt me. Moreover, I have a puppet following me. I can basically open my mouth and stretch out my hand. I am incomparably free." Tian Chanzi, "This time I don't know what kind of treasure Mu Hongyan's deceased husband left behind. When I see the real thing, I will contact you," Tang Zheng said. A mysterious level treasure is also a powerful treasure. Originally, even the Tianji Daoist coveted it. If it is discovered by other cultivators, be careful not to be robbed. Tian Chanzi warned. "Don't worry, there are so few cultivators now. We shouldn't encounter it," Tang Zheng said unconcernedly. "In any case, it's good to be careful. Well, you guys enter the station. I'm leaving." Tian Chanzi waved his hand and disappeared into the crowd with Huang Ziyang. Fang Shishir was a little sad. Looking at their departing backs, she said, "I don't know when I will see Master again." Tang Zheng put his arm around her shoulder and said, "Don't worry, we will definitely meet again. This time, our main task is to travel." Fang Shishir also smiled and nodded. "Yes, Dianan has beautiful mountains and clear waters. The scenery is very beautiful. We must play to our heart's content." The two people passed the security check and boarded the train. This time they bought hard sleeper tickets. They could have bought plane tickets, but Fang Shishir thought that since it was a trip and there was enough time, the train ticket was the best choice. Fang Shishir slept on the lower bunk and Tang Zheng slept on the middle bunk. Tang Zheng had just put the two people's luggage on the luggage rack when a person rushed over and shouted, make way, a beauty is going out, idlers should leave." In the blink of an eye, a beautiful figure rushed in front of Tang Zheng. Her breath was like orchids and she let out a long sigh. "I finally found my bed." Then, she handed the luggage to Tang Zheng and said without any hesitation, "Hey, handsome, help me put the luggage of this beauty up." Chapter 201. Tang Zheng curiously looked at the girl who acted as if she was familiar with him. She had a baby face, fair skin, chubby, and very cute. She had short hair that reached her ears and was staring at Tang Zheng with her big black eyes. Amazed face, amazed face, handsome. "If you look at me like this, I will be shy," the baby face said playfully. Her face even blushed as if she was really shy. Tang Zheng felt that he was too abrupt and hurriedly said, "I'm sorry." The baby face said seriously, "I don't think you are embarrassed at all. You are looking very seriously." Tang Zheng's head trembled and the luggage in his hands almost fell. Why was this baby face so direct? Looking at Tang Zheng's embarrassed state, the baby face made a face and said, "See, I hit the nail on the head. Look then look, I won't blame you. Aren't you born to be looked at?" Tang Zheng was speechless. "Hurry up and put my luggage up. Otherwise, Your hands will shake again, and it will fall. The baby face urged mischievously. Tang Zheng resentfully put the luggage down but heard the baby face exclaim in surprise. Wow, there is actually a beauty here. She is really beautiful. The baby face stared at Fang Shishir and said, Beauty, you are really beautiful and your skin is so good. Do you have a boyfriend? If you don't, I can introduce you to a few. They are all handsome and rich young men. Fang Shishir didn't know whether to laugh or cry looking at the baby face. The other party's sudden familiarity made her a little uncomfortable. She already has a boyfriend. You don't need to introduce me. Tang Zheng sat beside Fang Shishir and took the opportunity to put his arm around her shoulders and said grandly. The baby face opened her mouth in surprise. Wow, so you are a couple. But you are not as handsome as the handsome guys I mentioned. Tang Zheng couldn't help but roll his eyes. You can't eat handsome. The baby-faced man shook his head in all seriousness. That's not true. Being handsome can make a living. Don't you see so many Xiaobai's faces? Don't they rely on their faces to make a living? Tang Zheng choked for a moment. He really couldn't understand her unconstrained thinking. Fang Shishir smiled and helped her boyfriend out of the situation. I still think he's the best in the world. The baby-faced man couldn't believe it. He glanced at Tang Zheng and said doubtfully, Really? Why can't I see his good side? It's very ordinary. Fang Shishir laughed secretly. How could Tang Zheng's excellence be seen by others so casually? I'm just an ordinary person. What's wrong with that? Tang Zheng asked unhappily. The baby-faced man said, There's nothing wrong with it. But it doesn't match with this beauty. It's fine as long as I like it. It's none of other people's business. Fang Shishir tightly held Tang Zheng's hand and helped him out of the situation. The baby-faced man shrugged and said, Okay, then I won't meddle in other people's business. Tang Zheng said, So you also know that you are meddling in other people's business? Let me introduce myself first. My name is Li Xiaotian. I'm from Beijing. I just finished the college entrance examination and came out to travel alone. The baby-faced man introduced himself as if they were close friends. Li Xiaotian, your name is quite special. Tang Zheng pondered. Li Xiaotian said as if it was natural. Of course it's special. I just want to smile at the heavens and not be afraid of all difficulties and obstacles. Saying this, she looked up at the roof of the car and revealed a domineering smile. Tang Zheng and Fang Shishir looked at each other at the same time. This girl seemed a bit different. Moreover, this name was given by my grandmother. She said that if a woman has to hold up half the sky, then the daughter of the Li family has to hold up half the sky. First of all, a name must have momentum. Do you think this name has momentum? Li Xiaotian stared at the two and asked. Fang Shishir smiled. It does have momentum. I've introduced myself. Then you two should also introduce yourselves. My name is Tang Zheng. This is my girlfriend, Fang Shishir. Tang Zheng simply introduced himself. Tang Zheng, this name is so familiar. I heard that the provincial champion here is called Tang Zheng. Li Xiaotian said doubtfully. Tang Zheng's heart moved. He had tried to be as low-key as possible, but he did not expect that even this baby-faced girl in the capital had heard of his name. Hee, you and the provincial champion have the same name. This is also a great honor. It will also give you a lot of face. Li Xiaotian added. She did not seem to think that the person in front of her was the provincial champion. Tang Zheng was relieved. He really did not want to be recognized. Please make way. Suddenly, a man in his 30s carrying a backpack came over and said to Li Xiaotian, who was blocking the aisle. Li Xiaotian looked back at the other person. Her eyes flashed with a trace of imperceptible surprise. She smiled and said, Wow, this trip is really interesting. It seems that my choice was right. The man looked at her, and without a word put his luggage on the middle bunk. Then he took off his shoes and silently climbed onto the middle bunk. Handsome, why are you so cold? Sitting in the same car is also fate. Come down and chat for a while. Li Xiaotian called out as if they were close friends. The man ignored her and turned around. His back was facing everyone. He did not say a word and seemed to have fallen asleep. Li Xiaotian shrugged and said, The journey is long. What's the point of just sleeping and not talking? Could it be that you want to sleep well during the day and be a night owl at night? The man's back muscles instantly tightened and then quickly returned to a relaxed state. This scene was coincidentally seen by Tang Zheng, who got up. His heart could not help but tremble. Li Xiaoyan's seemingly unintentional words caused this cold man to have such a big reaction. This was an almost instinctive vigilance reaction. This meant that the other person was not an ordinary person. Moreover, Tang Jing also felt a murderous aura from the other person. Although it was well hidden, it still did not escape Tang Jing's fiery eyes. And this Li Xiaotian, who was very familiar with him, gradually gave Tang Jing a strange feeling. Her words were definitely not unintentional, but targeted, deliberately said like this. However, no matter what the other person's identity was, Tang Jing was not interested. He just wanted to reach Dianan safely. Sure, you take a nap first. I'll go for a walk. Tang Jing gave Fang Shishir a look and said. Fang Shishir understood and nodded. Tang Jing, what's there to see on this train? Li Xiaotian asked. Tang Jing said, reading thousands of books, traveling thousands of miles, you can see different stories from different people. I like to see different stories, so while I'm at it, I might be able to see different stories. Haha, so insightful. Amazing. Li Xiaotian smiled and gave a thumbs up. Tang Jing walked through the aisle, but the corner of his eyes kept looking at the other passengers. There was no one worth paying attention to. It seemed that other than the two people opposite him who were a bit strange, the others were normal passengers. Unknowingly, Tang Jing came to the soft sleeper. The soft sleeper was much higher class than the hard sleeper. There was a door to protect a certain amount of privacy. Tang Jing aimlessly walked forward. Suddenly, his pupils shrank. He saw a strong man come out of a private room. He quickly closed the door and walked towards the bathroom. Martial artist. Tang Jing immediately recognized the other person's identity. He was a 6th grade refining body martial artist. A martial artist appearing on the train could not help but attract Tang Jing's attention. Thus, he waited for a while. The martial artist came out of the bathroom and walked towards the private room. Tang Jing slowly walked towards the other person. He was no different from the other passengers. The moment the martial artist opened the door to the private room, Tang Jing also happened to pass by the door. From the corner of his eyes, he saw that there were 3 people sitting inside. One was an 8th grade martial artist, one was a 6th grade martial artist, and the last was an ordinary middle-aged man. He had a fat head and big ears. With one look, he could tell that he was a rich local tyrant. Tang Jing remembered this in his heart. He walked around and made sure that there was no one else worth paying attention to. Then, he returned to his seat. Fang Shishir was lying on the bed. Seeing him return, she smiled sweetly. Tang Jing touched her forehead and said in a low voice, "Go to sleep." Fang Shishir closed her eyes and entered her dreams. Tang Jing also went to the middle bunk. Separated by the narrow space in the middle, he sized up the cold man's back. His back was very broad. Tang Jing could imagine the explosive power hidden under the other person's clothes. This is also a martial artist. Moreover, he is an expert. I can't see through his cultivation. This means that he is at least a 1st grade natal stage expert. Tang Jing pondered. With such a strong killing intent, this person must have taken someone's life. The key point was, what was the purpose of this person sitting on this train? Tang Jing was puzzled. His gaze involuntarily fell on Li Xiaoyan's body. She was leaning against the carriage with her headphones on. She seemed to be intoxicated by the music. Her body does not have any fluctuations of inner strength. However, from the information she revealed, she is definitely not an ordinary person. Then why did she appear on this train? One question after another filled Tang Jing's mind. He did not feel sleepy at all. Instead, he became excited. Li Xiaoyan's words seemed to indicate that something would happen tonight. As night fell, the carriage became quiet. In the middle of the night, the lights in the carriage were extinguished. Everyone fell into darkness. Many people entered their dreams. Only the clanging sound of the wheels and the train tracks was left. Tang Jing faced the bed. He seemed to be asleep and did not move. After a few hours, when Tang Jing thought that nothing would happen tonight, a rustling sound came from behind him. This sound was very soft. It was almost negligible compared to the sound of the train. However, Tang Zheng was too close to the source of the sound, so he could hear it clearly. The cold man in the middle bunk got off the bed and walked towards the soft sleeper carriage. Tang Zheng was preparing to climb up and chase after him. However, he heard a clear sound from the lower bunk opposite him. Then, he followed with light footsteps. Tang Zheng shivered. This Li Xiaotian actually chased after him. Is she not afraid? Who is she? After a long while, Tang Zheng vigilantly got off the bed. After confirming that no one would notice him and that Fang Shishir was sleeping soundly, he stepped on the carpet in the aisle and tiptoed towards the soft sleeper carriage. Chapter 202. In the middle of the night, the carriage was very quiet and everyone fell asleep. Only the end of the carriage had some lights to guide people forward. Tang Zheng followed the two people from a distance. The cold man walked in front, and Li Xiaotian followed unhurriedly, but her route was very interesting. She could completely avoid the attention of the cold man and not be discovered by the other party. Tang Zheng was like a ghost, without the slightest sound. Looking at Li Xiaotian's movements, he immediately frowned. Is she also a martial artist? But she doesn't look like one at all. There are no internal energy fluctuations. Tang Zheng was full of doubts, but he could only follow. After a while, the cold man stopped in front of a soft sleeper box. Tang Zheng's nerves instantly tensed up. The soft sleeper box was the one where the four people lived. Could it be that they are a group? No, the cold man pulled out his weapon. Tang Zheng saw the cold man pull out a very thin, soft sword from his waist. Bang! A slight muffled sound was completely covered by the sound of the train. The box door was knocked open by the cold man and a fierce fighting sound was heard. Li Xiaotian quickened her pace and came to the door of the box. Leaning against the door, she watched the fight in the box with interest. After a while, everything returned to calm. So quickly defeated three martial artists. This cold man's strength is really high. Tang Zheng's eyes were shining as he watched from a distance. Suddenly, a cold light shot out from the box and went straight to Li Xiaotian's throat. Li Xiaotian was not scared but giggled and quickly retreated. This cold light was the soft sword in the cold man's hand. The soft sword followed like a shadow, and the cold man also jumped out of the box and looked at Li Xiaotian vigilantly. Just now, Li Xiaotian had dodged his fatal strike. This had already made the cold man very surprised. He had no choice but to be on guard. He coldly stared at her and asked, "Who are you?" Li Xiaotian stuck out her tongue. "Why are you so fierce and want to kill me?" The dignified cold killer, Xiao Xiaoling, wants to kill a weak woman. Aren't you afraid of being laughed at? The cold man's pupils suddenly shrank and said, "How do you know me?" "Oh, you are so famous. How can I not know you? It seems that you have just done another business. The name of the cold face killer is really extraordinary. I am very curious about who you have killed this time," Li Xiaotian said and looked into the box. The four people's throats were cut by the sword. They didn't even have much of a chance to resist. Li Xiaotian clapped her hands and said, "It's really an eye-opener. Isn't that dead fatty the lackey of the Long family in Dianan? This time you killed the Long's people. Aren't you afraid of being retaliated by the Longs?" "Well, since you know my name, you should know my rules. I always kill people. As long as the customer pays, I don't care about the background of the target," Xiao Xiaoling said. Li Xiaotian gently clapped her hands and said, "It's really professional. Today I have seen it. Well, I'm not interested in your business. After watching the play for a while, I dozed off again. I'm going back to sleep." She yawned and turned away, ignoring the killer behind her. Xiao Xiaoling did not hesitate to stab out with his sword. Tang Zheng looked at this scene and almost shouted out. Was this Li Xiaotian a fool? He actually left his back to the killer. But the next scene made Tang Zheng even more stunned. He saw that the soft sword stabbed Li Xiaotian's back, but it couldn't pierce in at all. Li Xiaotian looked back at the killer and smiled, saying, "Want to kill me? It seems that this is also your rule. All witnesses must die." Xiao Xiaoling's face suddenly changed. He stared at her back and was horrified. "Are you wearing the heavenly silkworm treasure armor? Oh, you're quite knowledgeable," Li Xiaotian praised. Xiao Xiaoling hesitated for a moment and said, "You and I don't interfere with the river water. Tonight's incident didn't happen." It seemed that he was very afraid of the heavenly silkworm treasure armor. Li Xiaotian laughed and said, I just came out to get some fresh air. What I saw was just a dream. After saying that, without waiting for the other party to respond, she went straight to the hard sleeper. Xiao Xiaoling followed her step by step. When he reached the toilet door, he suddenly stopped and looked at the toilet coldly. He hit the toilet door hard and opened it. Ah, who is it? A voice roared. Tang Zheng pretended to be surprised and angry as he stared at the other party, but his heart was beating fast. He clearly saw everything between the two of them. He did not know what the heavenly silkworm treasure armor was, but since it could make the assassin so fearful, it meant that the baby-faced person was definitely not an ordinary person. Furthermore, he was an expert, and to be able to escape Tang Zheng's fiery golden eyes, he was definitely not an ordinary person. Tang Zheng didn't expect that he could foresee these two people when he came out to travel. He was not afraid, but a little excited. This was the first time he left the ordinary balance, and he felt that the outside world was very wonderful. When the two came towards him, he hid in the toilet, but he didn't expect to be found by the killer. Hey, why are you two here? What are you doing so late? Tang Zheng pulled up the zipper of his pants and asked preemptively, What are you doing here? Xiao Xiaoling asked, Going to the toilet? Didn't you see it? Do you want to go to the toilet, too? Why are you in such a hurry to hit the door? I'm good, so you can go. Tang Zheng swaggered out. Li Xiaotian looked at Tang Zheng with a smile and asked, Handsome Tang, do you go so far to the toilet? Who said no? I almost couldn't hold it. There were people in the toilets of those carriages. It was not easy for me to find this place. Why do people like to go to the toilet in the middle of the night? Tang Zheng complained. Li Xiaotian's big eyes stared straight at Tang Zheng, as if he wanted to distinguish the truth in his words. Tang Zheng caught a glimpse of a conductor coming over and deliberately said loudly, I'll go back to sleep first. Without waiting for the other party to respond, he quickly walked towards the conductor and disappeared in the corridor. Xiao Xiao coldly snorted, bowed his head and passed by the conductor. On the contrary, Li Xiaotian looked at the night scene outside the window with interest and muttered, This trip is really getting more and more interesting. A cold-faced killer, a handsome guy. Especially this handsome guy is really surprising. Tang Zheng went back to bed and soon heard the other two people coming back. Tang Zheng could clearly feel that the killer's eyes stayed on him for a long time, as if he was thinking about whether to kill Tang Zheng or not. As the sky gradually brightened, a scream suddenly sounded, even covering the sound of the train. Then several policemen and conductors ran quickly to the soft sleeper compartment. Tang Zheng quietly looked at this scene, turned his head to look at the killer, and found that he was also looking at him, with murderous intent bursting out in his eyes. Tang Zheng ignored the other's murderous intent and said to Fang Shishir, who had woken up, What do you want for breakfast? I'll go to the dining car and buy it for you. Porridge and steamed buns are fine. I'll go wash first. Fang Shishir walked towards the bathroom, but found that the direction of the soft sleeper compartment in the distance was full of people. Murder! Someone has been killed. A voice shouted. Suddenly, the compartment was boiling. Many people wanted to squeeze into the soft sleeper compartment to see what happened, and some people quickly retreated, very scared. The scene was very chaotic. Tang Zheng pulled Fang Shishir back and said, It seems that we can't eat breakfast now. When the people are gone, let's go to the dining car together. Fang Shishir nodded and asked blankly, Someone just shouted to kill. What happened? Tang Zheng shook his head, but did not look at the killer, because he knew that the other must be observing his words and actions to confirm whether or not he saw the scene last night. Li Xiaotian got up, stretched his waist, rubbed his eyes, yawned and asked, What happened? Why is it so noisy? Can't people sleep? Tang Zheng watched her act with interest. If he did not see it with his own eyes last night, he was afraid that he would have been deceived by her. The people outside were really not easy to deal with, so he had to be careful. Handsome Tang, why are you looking at me so early in the morning? I don't seem to be exposed. Li Xiaotian said with a smile. Fang Shishir stealthily pinched Tang Zheng and said in a low voice, Don't look around. Tang Zheng bitterly smiled. I didn't look. Hee hee, got cleaned up by your girlfriend. Men are all big radishes. Beauty, you have to be careful. Fang Shishir smiled. I have confidence in him. Is that so? Hee. Li Xiaotian meaningfully smiled. What is this? Why is it so noisy? I heard that someone was killed. Tang Zheng lightly said. Li Xiaotian shouted. Murder. So scared. Handsome Tang. We all know each other. You have to protect me. With that, she threw herself on Tang Zheng's body, trembling, as if she was extremely scared. Everyone was shocked by her action. Tang Zheng did not have time to react when he felt a soft body in his arms. Although Li Xiaotian had a baby face, her body was very well developed. With curves, it was very tempting. Her pair of hands firmly hugged Tang Zheng's waist, burying her head in his arms. This posture was as ambiguous as it could be. Fang Shishir was dumbstruck at this scene. Even Tang Zheng was no exception, stared blankly at her, but in an instant he calmed down. She was acting, and her acting was so realistic. If Tang Zheng did not see her true face last night, perhaps he would have been deceived by her. But, since you are acting, then I will also act. You are not the only actor. So he smoothly hugged her. His hands passed under her ribs, covering her full breasts. She was startled. Her body tensed up, but Tang Zheng was like a pervert, not letting go, and comforted her. Don't be afraid, I am here. Li Xiaotian's face couldn't help but turn red. She was still a virgin, yet she was actually taken advantage of by Tang Zheng in such an unbridled manner. Furthermore, it was in front of her girlfriend. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. But, even so, her hands were not idle, pressing on Tang Zheng's waist, carefully probing. Chapter 203. Li Xiaotian's movements were so subtle that even Tang Zheng didn't notice anything strange. Suddenly, she frowned and secretly said, why doesn't he have any internal energy fluctuations? Could it be that he's not a martial artist? Li Xiaotian suspected that Tang Zheng was a martial artist, so she purposely threw herself into his arms to test him, but in the end, she found that Tang Zheng didn't have any internal energy fluctuations at all. Fairy Search, novel download free novel. She didn't know that Tang Zheng was a cultivator and that his body was filled with qi, which was a completely different kind of power from internal energy, so of course she would return empty-handed. The key point was that she was taken advantage of by Tang Zheng. In the past 18 years, no one had ever taken advantage of her, but Tang Zheng just had to take advantage of her. She hurriedly struggled out of Tang Zheng's arms and stared at Tang Zheng, her pink face full of anger, and angrily said, You just touched my chest. Tang Zheng almost fainted. This baby-faced girl really didn't have a filter on her mouth. She even dared to say this. Fang Shishir heard this and fiercely pinched Tang Zheng's waist. Tang Zheng grimaced and sucked in a breath of cold air. Li Xiaotian smiled proudly. Hey, you can't accuse people wrongly. It was clearly you who took the initiative to throw yourself into my arms. How could you blame me? Tang Zheng retorted. I was scared. I thought you were a gentleman, but I didn't expect you to take the opportunity to touch my chest, she said as she puffed out her chest. Although I know I'm a great beauty and have a good figure, but how am I going to live if you do this? Tang Zheng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This girl was really sharp-tongued. However, he wasn't afraid of her. He shrugged and said, You want me to take responsibility, right? Well then, you can ask my girlfriend's opinion. If she agrees, I don't mind taking you as a concubine. Fang Shishir glared at Tang Zheng, but she also understood that he was definitely not a playboy. Since he said so, there must be a reason. Therefore, Fang Shishir followed his words and said, The threshold of the Tang family is very high. If you want to enter the door of the Tang family, it depends on your ability. Tang Zheng secretly gave Fang Shishir a look of appreciation. Fang Shishir glared at him. She had never played along with others like this before. Li Xiaotian's expression turned awkward, but there was nothing he could do. He angrily glared at the two of them, gritted his teeth, and said, You two are amazing. Then, she sat back on the bed angrily. Xiao Xiaoling looked at this scene without saying a word. He got out of bed and looked at Li Xiaotian. Li Xiaotian shook his head slightly without a trace. Xiao Xiaoling immediately understood what she meant. Tang Zheng was not a martial artist. Xiao Xiaoling's eyes flashed with suspicion. He always felt that he couldn't see through Tang Zheng. Although the other party's performance was harmless and there were not many flaws, as a veteran killer, that kind of subconscious feeling made him have to pay attention to Tang Zheng. Whether you are a martial artist or not, I will kill you when I get off the train. Xiao Xiaoling silently made up his mind. It's the three of them. Suddenly, a train attendant came over with two policemen and pointed to Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng was awe-inspiring. This man was the train attendant he met last night. He didn't expect him to recognize the three of them. Xiao Xiaoling's face was cold, and he didn't say a word. Li Xiaotian, on the other hand, was in high spirits. She gossiped and asked, I heard that someone died. Is it true? The policeman didn't answer her. Instead, he stared at the three of them and said, Did the three of you go to the soft sleeper at 2:00 last night? Li Xiaotian nodded without hesitation. Yes, I couldn't sleep, so I walked around. What's the matter? The policeman avoided answering and stared at Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng said, I went to the bathroom at that time. The policeman's eyes fell on Xiao Xiaoling again. Looking at his cold appearance, he was definitely not ordinary. Therefore, the two policemen put their hands on the holster and were on high alert. Xiao Xiaoling said unceremoniously, Can't I get out of bed and blow the wind? It's not impossible, but the time when the three of you appeared is too coincidental. It coincides with the time of a murder case, so you need to assist in the investigation. The policeman said in a businesslike manner. Yes. Unexpectedly, Xiao Xiaoling did not refuse, but just said lightly. The two policemen breathed a sigh of relief. Since the other party was willing to cooperate, it couldn't be better. The three of you, please open the suitcase. We need to check it. The policeman said that the deceased was injured by a sharp weapon. As long as the weapon was found, all the problems would be solved. Li Xiaotian quickly opened her suitcase and said, You see, I have snacks and clothes in it, but there is nothing. There were not many sensitive things in her suitcase. The policeman checked it once and skipped it. Xiao Xiaoling's luggage was the focus of the inspection, but there was nothing else noteworthy except for a few simple sets of clothes. It was Tang Zheng's turn. The policeman locked a long iron box at a glance and asked warily, What is this? Handicrafts. Open it and see. The policeman put his hand on the holster again. Officer, there is really no need to open it. This is my collection. Tang Zheng advised. No, it must be opened. Tang Zheng had no choice but to open the box. A gleaming black sword lay quietly in the iron box. The two policemen's body tightened. The deceased's throat was injured by a blunt weapon, and the sudden appearance of this black sword was undoubtedly the biggest suspect. Tang Zheng went to Dianan this time. The danger was unknown. Of course, he would bring War Soul. Finally, he spent a lot of effort to get a certificate for War Soul. Otherwise, he couldn't bring it on the train. He thought that everything was going smoothly, but he never expected to encounter a murder. War Soul became the biggest suspect. Tang Zheng certainly understood the policeman's mind and quickly explained, This is a handicraft. I have a certificate. Take it out and have a look. Be careful, don't act rashly. The policeman quickly pulled out his pistol and pointed it at Tang Zheng. It seemed that once he acted rashly, he would pull the trigger. Fang Shishir was shocked and shouted, Don't shoot, we didn't do anything bad. Tang Zheng comforted her. Don't worry, we didn't do anything bad. What are you afraid of? Then, he carefully took out the certificate of War Soul and handed it over. A policeman still pointed his gun at Tang Zheng, and another policeman checked the certificate. Li Xiaotian and Xiao Xiaoling stared at the War Soul sword intently. With their eyes, they could see that this was definitely not an ordinary handicraft, but a real treasure sword. Moreover, it had drunk blood, and the murderous aura on it made people shudder. Li Xiaotian's eyes gradually brightened. Tang Zheng was not a martial artist, but he had such a sword. This was too unusual. After checking the certificate, the policeman said, We need to keep this sword for the time being. After getting off the train, we will hand it over to the relevant department to check its authenticity. The policeman did not have the strength to distinguish the authenticity of the handicraft, so to be on the safe side, they made such a decision. War Soul was too important to Tang Zheng. Of course, It was impossible to let the other party take it away. He immediately refused. No, this sword is very important to me. I can't let you take it away. The atmosphere became tense in an instant. The two policemen were like facing an enemy. It is your duty to cooperate with our investigation. In short, I didn't kill the people. You can't touch my things. Tang Zheng said firmly. This is not up to you. We can only make a conclusion after we investigate clearly. The policeman did not give in. Handsome Tang, it is a citizen's duty to cooperate with the police. You can give this sword to them. Li Xiaotian said casually. Absolutely not. Oh, it seems that this is a treasure. Why don't you let me have a look? I have been interested in antique handicrafts since I was a child. Maybe I can help you identify it. Li Xiaotian reached out to grab Warsoul. Tang Zheng was quick and was about to start, but at this time, the policeman raised his gun and shouted, Don't move. Tang Zheng helplessly stopped. Li Xiaotian was about to succeed, but another slender hand closed the iron box first. This is my boyfriend's thing. You can't mess with it. Fang Shishir held the iron box in her arms and said firmly. Li Xiaotian was slightly startled. Fang Shishir was the first to get it. She looked at Fang Shishir in surprise. No matter how she looked at it, there was nothing strange about it. But Fang Shishir's movements were faster than her. Li Xiaotian's mouth hooked up and muttered to herself, Interesting, really interesting. Put the box down. A policeman pointed his gun at Fang Shishir. Fang Shishir was not afraid and tightly hugged the box. Tang Zheng frowned and angrily said, Move the gun away. Don't point it at my girlfriend. Otherwise, you will regret it. Tang Zheng did not expect that he would be involved in this murder case. He originally had no flaws, but because of the appearance of Warsoul, he became the biggest suspect. The policeman did not care about Tang Zheng's threat. Instead, he thought it was a provocation. He flew into a rage and said, Don't act rashly. Otherwise, we will shoot. Tang Zheng moved sideways and used his body to block in front of Fang Shishir. He said, You want to find the murderer, but you have found the wrong person? What do you mean? The policeman immediately caught the deep meaning in his words and quickly asked, The murderer is someone else. We are just two freshly graduated students. Is there a need for you to mobilize so many people? Tang Zheng asked. He was considering whether to tell the truth about last night. Previously, he had felt the cold murderous intent from the killer's eyes, so he was considering whether to use the police to deal with the killer. Xiao Xiao listened to this sentence, and his body subconsciously became alert. His right hand was on his waist, ready to go. He could be sure that Tang Zheng must have seen him kill people last night, so he must not be left alive. Li Xiaotian also understood this point, and his heart was awe-inspiring. Last night, he actually deceived me. It's outrageous. And just now, he deliberately took advantage of me. I absolutely can't let him live like this. If he dares to take advantage of me, I will let him peel off a layer of skin. Li Xiaotian rolled his eyes and pretended to be suddenly enlightened. He shouted, Oh, police comrade, when I came out in the corridor last night, it seemed that I saw him carrying this sword. As soon as this remark came out, the atmosphere suddenly changed. The two policemen were facing an enemy, and it seemed that they were about to pull the trigger. Tang Zheng could not hide his astonishment. This Li Xiaotian was really insidious. He even framed him. Women's hearts were the most poisonous. Chapter 204. Tang Zheng didn't ask why Li Xiaotian framed him. Since she said so, it was after careful consideration. Tang Zheng's refutation was in vain. Fang Shishir knew her boyfriend's character well. He would never kill people for no reason. So, she flew into a rage, like a lioness protecting her cub. Li Xiaotian, why did you frame a good person? Li Xiaotian pretended to be wronged and said, I'm just telling the truth. Come with us. The policeman snapped, interrupting the conversation between the two. Tang Zheng's expression was cold. Suddenly, his right hand was placed on Xiao Xiaoling's waist. When Xiao Xiaoling had not yet reacted, he took advantage of the situation and exposed a soft sword that was shining with cold light. Xiao Xiaoling reacted very quickly. When the soft sword was only exposed a few centimeters, His hand was on the hilt of the sword, shaking off Tang Zheng's hand. But it was too late. Everyone had seen the soft sword at his waist. The policeman burst out, "Don't move." They didn't expect that Tang Zheng would dare to move under the muzzle of the gun. Moreover, his movements were so fast that they were overwhelmed. More importantly, the exposed weapon at Xiao Xiaoling's waist made them feel like they were facing a great enemy. Only a vicious person would hide the sword so secretly. Therefore, in an instant, Xiao Xiaoling's suspicion was greater than Tang Zheng's. One of the 6 guns was aimed at Tang Zheng, the other was aimed at Xiao Xiaoling, and the other was at Xiao Xiaoling. Li Xiaotian looked at all this in surprise. She finally understood that Tang Zheng was a hidden master. She had misjudged him. It was too hateful. However, things became more interesting. Her mouth evoked a wicked smile. She pretended to be surprised and shouted, "Wow, there is a sword here. I'm so scared." Then she rushed in the direction of the police. "Police comrade, you have to protect me. I'm so scared." Perhaps she had the experience of being eaten by Tang Zheng last time. She didn't jump into the arms of the police, but just blocked between Xiao Xiaoling and the muzzle of the gun. Seeing this, the policeman shouted anxiously, "Miss, move away." But it was too late. As an assassin, Xiao Xiaoling grasped the opportunity perfectly. At the moment when Li Xiaotian rushed over, he launched an attack in an instant. Shua! The soft sword was completely drawn out. Like a poisonous snake, it attacked Tang Zheng's throat. Tang Zheng saw that the situation was not good. He did not care about the police's muzzle. He grabbed the iron box in Fang Shishir's hand and blocked it. Sparks flew everywhere. "Don't move, or I'll shoot." The police were horrified. They never thought that under the gun, these 2 people would dare to make a move. Looking at the cold, gleaming, soft sword, it seemed to be more consistent with the wound of the deceased. Immediately, the 2 people understood that this person was the biggest suspect, and they absolutely could not let him escape. Moreover, the train was an enclosed space, and there were many people. If this kind of outstanding martial artist suddenly attacked others, the consequences would be unimaginable. They must be blocked in this narrow space. So, the 2 policemen hesitated a little and pulled the trigger. Bang, bang, 2 muffled gunshots. The bullets whistled out. In such a narrow space, the threat of the bullets was quite great. Tang Zheng put the iron box upright in front of him. The bullet penetrated the iron box and was blocked by the war spirit sword. The other bullet almost flew past Li Xiaotian's body. The police deliberately avoided her when they shot, but the accuracy was greatly reduced. Xiao Xiaoling did not move at all. The bullet passed by, broke through the glass window, and flew out. A small cold wind poured in from the bullet hole. "Hold your head and squat down." The police saw that the bullet did not hurt the other party at all. It would certainly arouse the other party's fierce resistance, so the police shouted. At the same time, they took 2 steps back to open up the distance between them to avoid the other party's possible attack, but it was enough to control the other party within the range of their own firepower. Li Xiaotian's mouth hooked up into a smile. He stared at the scene with interest. When his eyes collided with Tang Zheng's, it was difficult to hide the provocation. Xiao Xiaoling's face became colder and colder. He did not pay attention to the police's threat at all. He slapped the window with his palm. With a crash, the window, which had been pierced by a bullet, instantly shattered. The huge cold wind poured into the carriage, making people subconsciously close their eyes. Xiao Xiaoling shot out lightning and grabbed Tang Zheng and Fang Shishir. In her exclamation, the 2 jumped out of the window. Tang Zheng was horrified. He did not expect that the other party would suddenly attack Fang Shishir. Even Li Xiaotian could not hide the surprise in his eyes. "Don't run!" Tang Zheng roared and jumped off the train with the iron box in his arms. The 2 policemen were stunned. Jumping off such a high-speed train, wasn't it courting death? What a group of desperados. The 2 men hurriedly looked out of the window, but they did not see the other party. "Hey, 2 police comrades, make way." Li Xiaotian patted the 2 men on the shoulder and said, "Girl, what are you doing?" "Of course, I'm going to catch up. It's a waste not to watch such a good show. You too, goodbye. Oh, by the way, let me remind you that I lied just now. The murderer is the guy with the soft sword." Li Xiaotian said lightly, "You lied?" The policeman was shocked. Li Xiaotian shrugged and said, "Yes, a woman's words can't be trusted, especially a beautiful woman like me." Her voice fell. She tiptoed, flew over the two men's heads, and rushed out of the window. "Ah!" The police officer subconsciously shouted and hurriedly leaned over to take a look. He thought that she would be smashed to pieces, but unexpectedly, she landed lightly on the ground, unscathed. She tiptoed and quickly ran in a certain direction. "Stop!" Tang Zheng roared. Xiao Xiaoling grabbed Feng Shishir and ran wildly in front, but because there were two people, their speed was a little slow. After a while, they were caught up by Tang Zheng. Xiao Xiaoling simply stopped, the soft sword on her neck, coldly stared at Tang Zheng, who caught up and said, "Who are you? Let go of my girlfriend." Tang Zheng shouted angrily, "Answer my question first." Xiao Xiaoling was murderous. Tang Zheng said in a deep voice, "I'm just a passerby. I don't want to pay attention to your business. Let go of my girlfriend. We'll go our separate ways." Xiao Xiaoling sneered and said, "You witnessed me killing people. How can I keep you in this world? I took her to lead you here." Tang Jing said disdainfully, "Then why didn't you kill Li Xiaotian?" "Oh, handsome Tang, you're so bad. You even encouraged him to kill me. I'm so beautiful and lovely. How can you let me die?" Li Xiaotian's voice came from afar. In an instant, she stood in front of the two men. Tang Jing angrily glared at her and said, "Why are you framing me?" "It's fun," Li Xiaotian said casually. "Fun? Do you know that you will kill people like this?" Tang Zheng was furious. Framing him was just for fun. How preposterous. "You didn't die, did you?" Li Xiaotian retorted. "I almost died under the police's gun." "Oh, who told you to hide your strength? Let's not beat around the bush. How on earth did you hide your cultivation? When I was in your arms, I didn't even feel the fluctuation of internal energy." Li Xiaotian stared at Tang Zheng with a smile, like a doctor who had encountered a difficult disease. She was very interested. Tang Zheng was shocked. It turned out that when she threw herself into his arms, it was to test his details. He said that his charm was not so great that it was impossible for a beauty to throw herself into his arms. Xiao Xiao also stared at Tang Zheng. He had read countless people, but he still ignored Tang Zheng because he was really inconspicuous. Tang Zheng, of course, would not answer the other party's question. He said, "Why should I tell you?" "Oh, I'm curious. Can't you satisfy my curiosity? Beautiful women are very gossipy. Don't pretend to be cute. You are a poisonous snake. You secretly spit out a letter, and when you have the opportunity, you will bite others." Tang Zheng said angrily. "Poisonous snake? Wow, am I as horrible as you say? You see, people are so cute. You don't know how many people like me. How could I be a poisonous snake?" Li Xiaotian said aggrievely. Xiao Xiao looked at the two people without saying a word and interrupted, "Your judgment is very accurate. The people of Li Palace are poisonous snakes." Li Xiaotian smiled like a flower. "Wow, is the reputation of Li Palace so bad? If I tell Grandma that you slandered Li Palace like this, you, a cold-faced killer, can escape to the ends of the earth." Xiao Xiao coldly snorted and said, "Since I am a person who eats this bowl of rice, how can I be afraid of being chased?" "Not afraid? Then why did you let me go last night?" Li Xiaoyan's words hit the nail on the head. Xiao Xiao was speechless. "See, I was right. Men are duplicitous. This is what Grandma has always taught me. It seems that it is indeed a wise saying. Last night, you clearly guessed my identity from the heavenly silkworm treasure armor, so you would rather violate your own rules and let me go. It seems that you are still very afraid of Li Palace. If Grandma knew about this, she would be very happy. Li Palace is to make others afraid, to make others afraid." Although Li Xiaotian spoke in a relaxed manner and even carried a bit of playfulness and liveliness, Tang Jing felt a chill from the information revealed in her words. What kind of place was this Li Palace, specifically to make others feel afraid? But there was no doubt that Li Palace was definitely a powerful organization. Tang Jing's eyes were dark about the world's organizations, so he asked, "What is Li Palace?" "A good place where I grew up. The birds are singing and the flowers are fragrant. It is very beautiful. This is the first time I have left Li Palace. I didn't expect the outside world to be so fun. Xiao Xiao was shocked. You are 18 years old this year, right? Yes, how do you know? Xiao Xiao's face became colder and colder. As if talking to himself, he said, I should have guessed it a long time ago. Wearing the heavenly silkworm treasure armor, you are the holy maiden of Li Palace. At the age of 18, you will leave Li Palace and go out to gain experience. Oh, it seems that you know Li Palace very well. I thought that you, a guy who likes to fight alone, didn't understand the situation of the world. Li Xiaotian said curiously. Xiao Xiao disdainfully said, if I didn't understand the world's palaces, sects, and halls, then I don't know how many times I would have died. Chapter 205. One Palace, One Sect, One Hall. Tang Zheng had never heard of it before and couldn't help but be curious. Where are these places? Li Xiaotian said with a smile. Your strength is good, but you don't understand the situation of the world at all. It seems that you don't belong to any big power. Xiao Xiao also looked at him coldly, as if he was also speculating about Tang Zheng's origin. There are 3 places in the world where martial artists gather, namely, the Li Palace, the Martial Sect, and the Azure Dragon Palace. Li Xiaotian explained. Martial Sect. Tang Zheng was shocked to hear the name of the Martial Sect again. It turned out that the forces of the world were much more complicated than he thought. Could it be that these 3 forces all regarded the cultivators as eyesores? Then it would be troublesome. Where is the Martial Sect? Tang Zheng asked subconsciously. Li Xiaotian's eyes lit up and said, Hey, you even know about the Martial Sect? It's really strange. Saying this, his pair of eyes looked at Tang Zheng again. Tang Zheng was secretly shocked. The Martial Sect was an organization that specialized in dealing with cultivators. Li Xiaotian guessed his identity, so he quickly explained. I have heard people say that there are many masters in the Martial Sect, so I want to go there to learn. Learn from a master? Li Xiaotian covered his mouth and giggled. It seems that that person must have lied to you. The Martial Sect has never accepted outsiders as disciples. You want to learn from a master, but there is no chance. How do you know there is no chance if you don't try? You just need to tell me where the Martial Sect is. Tang Zheng argued. Tian Chanzi had always wanted to go to the Martial Sect to find out. If he could know the location of the Martial Sect from Li Xiaotian, it would be simple. Unexpectedly, Li Xiaotian shook his head and said, I don't know where the Martial Sect is. Only Grandma knows. Why don't you go back to the Li Palace with me, and you will naturally know. Tang Zheng was a little moved. Are you sending him to his death? Any man who enters the Li Palace can forget about coming out alive. Xiao Xiao coldly interjected. Li Xiaotian glared at him. If you don't speak, no one will think you're mute. Besides, aren't you going to kill him? Let me take him to the Li Palace to play. Isn't that exactly what you want? Tang Zheng felt a chill run down his spine. This Li Xiaotian was too vicious. She actually wanted to lure him to the Li Palace and then kill him. A woman's heart was truly the most poisonous. Xiao Xiao disdainfully said, I don't need others to intervene in my own affairs. Li Xiaotian crossed his arms and shrugged. Then pretend I didn't say anything. You guys continue. I'll just watch the show. Xiao Xiao took a deep look at Li Xiaotian and no longer paid attention to her. Instead, he said to Tang Zheng, if you kill yourself, I will let her go. Otherwise, I will kill her first and then kill you. If you dare to hurt her, even if I chase you to the ends of the earth, I will tear you to pieces, Tang Zheng said resolutely. I've never been afraid of threats. Are you going to make a move or not? Xiao Xiao coldly asked. Tang Zheng looked at Fang Shishir. There was no fear on her face. Instead, she squeezed out a smile at him and said without fear, Tang Zheng, you don't have to worry about me. Don't talk nonsense. I will save you. Hey, handsome Tang, hurry up and do it. I want to see how you will save her. I'm very curious. Li Xiaotian urged. Xiao Xiao looked alert. Tang Zheng had given him too many surprises. Therefore, he was very afraid. However, he had a hostage in hand. He firmly believed that Tang Zheng could not play any tricks. Of course, Tang Zheng could play tricks. He could use the body-fixing technique and make Xiao Xiao unable to move in an instant. But the key point was that there was a holy maiden of Li Palace next to him. Since Li Palace was as famous as Wu Zong, did Li Xiaotian know the existence of cultivators? Did he regard cultivators as his mortal enemy? If he used the body-fixing technique and exposed his identity as a cultivator, would he attract the pursuit of Li Palace? He was not sure, so he was hesitating. But seeing that the soft sword on Fang Shishi's neck had almost cut her skin, he knew that he was finally going to make a move. Even if Li Xiaotian discovered his identity, he could not say that he would get rid of her together. Tang Zheng did not have the idea of having tender feelings for the fairer sex. Li Xiaotian was like a beautiful viper, making him avoid it like the plague. However, Fang Shishi's movements were faster than his. She had also learned the body-fixing technique, but she was not as proficient as Tang Zheng. Therefore, her hand quietly aimed at Xiao Zhao's acupoints, so that she could hide the body-fixing technique and attribute it to the pressure point technique. This girl's meticulous mind was still not bad. Xiao Zhao's attention had been on Tang Zheng. He did not notice Fang Shishi's movements at all, but Li Xiaotian had been paying attention to Fang Shishi's movements. At that time, Fang Shishi had snatched the iron box, which had always made Li Xiaotian worry. Although Fang Shishi was no different from an ordinary woman, the meticulous Li Xiaotian still put some energy into her. Seeing Fang Shishi's movements, Li Xiaotian's eyes lit up and he shouted, "Be careful of her pressure point technique." This earth-shattering sound immediately attracted Xiao Zhao's attention. He reacted very quickly and immediately reached out to grab Fang Shishi's finger. Tang Zheng and Fang Shishi were furious. This Li Xiaotian was so bad that he ruined their good thing. But it was too late to accuse Li Xiaotian of his sinister intentions. Tang Zheng quickly took out the War Spirit sword from the box and stabbed it. This sword used the Flying Immortals from Outer Sky sword technique. It was as fast as thunder. In the blink of an eye, it arrived in front of Xiao Xiao and stabbed straight at his face. If he did not resist, his head would be directly pierced by the sword. Xiao Xiao was forced to let go of Fang Shishi and block with his sword. Clang! The two swords hit each other, and the two people quickly bounced back. Tang Zheng grabbed Fang Shishi's waist and pulled her into his arms, and quickly retreated. Drawing the sword, saving people, and retreating, this series of actions was as fast as lightning and flowing water, showing Tang Zheng's powerful strength. Xiao Xiao and Li Xiaotian coincidentally widened their eyes. Li Xiaotian suddenly applauded and laughed. "Beautiful, beautiful. You actually succeeded in snatching people from the hands of the cold-faced killer." Xiao Zhao's face became colder and colder. Originally, he had the upper hand, but this blow turned the situation around, which made him shocked and angry. Tang Zheng looked at the two people coldly and said, "It's not that easy to kill us." Li Xiaotian chuckled and said, "I have to admit that you were right. You have to know that the cold-faced killer is an 8th grade natal expert, so I am very curious about what your cultivation level is." Tang Zheng stared at Xiao Xiao. No wonder he couldn't see through his cultivation level. He turned out to be an 8th grade natal expert. He looked like he was only in his 30s, but he had such a high cultivation level. There was no doubt that he was a genius. It was not a good thing to be remembered by such an expert. If it weren't for Li Xiaotian, he couldn't have provoked Xiao Xiao. Therefore, Tang Zheng was even more hateful to the culprit who watched a good show. "You are the Holy Virgin of Li Palace. What is your cultivation level?" Tang Zheng asked. "I asked you first. You say it first, and I will say it." Li Xiaotian said wittily. Tang Zheng snorted and ignored it. Of course, he couldn't tell the other party his details. "Oh, you are so stingy. If you don't want to say it, then forget it. Cold-faced killer, you can continue now. Don't let me wait too long. Hurry up and decide the winner. I am a little hungry. I got up early in the morning and didn't have time to eat breakfast." Li Xiaotian urged. Xiao Xiao stared at Tang Zheng and said, "I don't care who you are. Since I said I would kill you, then I will naturally do it. Otherwise, I will break my rules." Tang Zheng disdainfully said, "Bullying the weak and fearing the strong. Why are you not so tough to her?" Xiao Zhao's face was embarrassed and said, "This world is the law of the jungle. If you have such a strong background as her, then I naturally don't mind letting you go." Is that so? Then what will make you willing to let me go? Tang Zheng was now in the 9th grade refining Qi, and Fang Shishir, who was in the 3rd grade refining Qi, was certainly not Xiao Zhao's opponent. Therefore, this battle was very difficult, and there was almost no hope for victory. If you beat me, I can naturally let you go, Xiao Xiao said. Well, I hope you won't deny it later. Tang Zheng had to give it his all and rushed up with his sword. Xiao Xiao gave a cold shout and also greeted him. In the blink of an eye, the two people fought together. They had already exchanged more than 10 moves. The soft sword in Xiao Zhao's hand was like a poisonous snake, appearing and disappearing unpredictably. Tang Zheng gave a loud roar as he displayed the flying immortals from beyond the sky sword technique. Winds rose and clouds surged. In that instant, sand and stones flew everywhere as the aura between heaven and earth fluctuated unpredictably. His sword attacked with the force of wind and thunder. Xiao Zhao's face changed slightly and shouted, "Good sword technique." The soft sword zigzagged forward, drawing an earthworm-like sword light in the air, but layer upon layer, completely blocking this move of the wind and clouds. Bang! The sword light shattered, and Xiao Xiao took a step back. He said in amazement, "It's really a good sword technique. It can even force me to retreat. But if you want to defeat me with this ability, you may not think it's too easy." Shua. Her flexible sword trembled as sword light scattered down, attacking Tang Zheng in a voluminous manner. Tang Zheng did not retreat, but moved forward. The wind and clouds surged, and the sword hit the center of the scattered sword light. Pacha, the sword light shook, and Tang Zheng quickly moved forward. At the same time, he secretly used the fixed body technique. The aura between heaven and earth changed in an instant. Xiao Xiao felt a force rushing into his meridians, and his body couldn't move for a moment. Tang Zheng did not give Xiao Xiao a chance to react. Seizing this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, the war spirit sword pressed against the opponent's throat, but did not move further. Because he knew that the fixed body technique alone could not really control the opponent for a long time. As long as the opponent felt that something was wrong, he would immediately use his power to force out this force. Just like when he faced Huang Si, the fixed body technique did catch the opponent off guard, but it could not become a fatal killing move. Sure enough, Xiao Xiao noticed that his body could not move, and quickly used his power to force back the force. At this moment, the war spirit sword was already at his throat. Although he recovered his mobility, there was no doubt that he was defeated. His eyes flashed with a trace of sadness. "You lost," Tang Zheng said calmly, withdrawing his sword and retreating. Xiao Zhao's face changed. He could not imagine that he would be defeated like this. The key was that the mysterious force just now made him very afraid. He did not know how Tang Zheng did it, but there was no doubt that Tang Zheng was far more complicated than he thought. Li Xiaotian looked at the two people in surprise and asked in surprise, "How could you lose?" In the previous attack of the two people, Tang Zheng was obviously at a disadvantage, but in the blink of an eye, the battle situation had changed dramatically, which made her puzzled. Chapter 206. Xiao Xiaoling was also baffled. He couldn't tell why. He just stared straight at Tang Zheng, recalling the scene just now, but he was still confused. Li Xiaotian asked Tang Zheng again, "How did you do it?" Tang Zheng turned a deaf ear and just stared at Xiao Xiaoling. "You lost. It's time to fulfill your promise." Xiao Xiaoling hesitated. The mystery shown by Tang Zheng made him a little afraid. Moreover, he really couldn't figure out the details of Tang Zheng, so he nodded after a long time and said, "Well, I'll let you go this time, but if I meet you next time, you won't be so lucky." After that, he turned around and disappeared with a few leaps. Tang Zheng secretly breathed a sigh of relief. He took Fang Shishir's hand and turned to leave. "Hey, wait a minute," Li Xiaotian shouted and caught up with him. "What are you going to do?" Tang Zheng decided to stay away from her and asked without any politeness, "This is the wilderness. What if I meet a bad guy? So I'll go with you." Li Xiaotian said with a smile, as if nothing had happened. "Others should be worried about their own safety when they meet you. Who can hurt you?" Tang Zheng said with a bad face. Li Xiao giggled and said, "Are you still angry with me? You're a real man, so you should be more tolerant. Otherwise, you won't be liked by girls. It's enough that I have a girlfriend who likes me. I don't need to please other girls," Tang Zheng said lightly. Fang Shishir heard this and smiled sweetly. Li Xiaotian curled her lips and said, "You don't have to be so heartless. Besides, I'm going out for the first time. There are many things I don't understand. Wouldn't it be better if we go together? In addition, all my luggage and belongings are on the train. Do you have the heart to watch me starve to death?" That delicate and pitiful appearance was pitiful. If the two of them hadn't seen what she had done just now, they would have definitely been deceived by her. Tang Zheng's expression was as hard as iron and stone as he said, "I'm very happy to see that. Goodbye. Oh no, never again." Tang Zheng pulled Fang Shishir forward quickly. Fang Shishir turned to look at Li Xiaotian and found that she was actually following behind them at a leisurely pace. "She's following us?" Fang Shishir reminded in a low voice. This girl's actions were beyond her imagination. Tang Zheng stopped in his tracks and turned to glare fiercely at Li Xiaotian. "What's the point of this? You almost killed me just now. Why should I bring you along?" "Because I'm a girl, and a beautiful girl at that," Li Xiaotian said coquettishly. "The beauty trap is useless against me. Besides, are you as beautiful as my girlfriend?" Tang Zheng said jokingly. Fang Shishir heard this and looked at him sweetly. Only he could praise his girlfriend in front of another girl. Li Xiaotian said angrily, "Hey, are you not going to give me face like this? You're slandering my image. Anyway, I don't care. I have no relatives in Dianan, and I'm penniless. Anyway, I'm depending on you. Whatever you want to do, I'll follow you." Seeing that he was helpless, Tang Zheng had no choice but to pull Fang Shishir in front. Li Xiaotian followed, like a burden. She kept asking Tang Zheng questions, but he ignored them one by one. After a long while, her mouth was dry and she said rather discouragingly, "Hey, why don't you say a word? I don't want to talk to you." Tang Zheng said without looking back. They could see the edge of the city in front of them. The place where they jumped off the train was not far from the terminal station. The three of them were very fast, so it didn't take long for them to enter the city. Suddenly, Tang Zheng's cell phone rang. "Tang Zheng, I'm at the train station. Your train has arrived, but why haven't I seen you?" Mu Hongyan asked. Tang Zheng had specifically informed her before leaving, so she came to pick him up in person. "We got off halfway, and now we're in the city. Where are you?" "I'll pick you up." Tang Zheng looked at the street sign and told the other party before stopping in his tracks. "You have a friend to pick you up?" Li Xiaotian asked. "Yes, so you can leave, or you can call home and ask them to pick you up," Tang Zheng said indifferently. Li Xiaotian curled his lips. "The Li Palace has rules. During the training period, you can't ask for help from the Li Palace. Otherwise, the training will be considered a failure." "That's your rule. What does it have to do with me?" Tang Zheng retorted. "You can't just watch someone die and not help." Sure. Hurry and persuade him. He's too cold-blooded, and that's not good." Seeing that Tang Zheng was unmoved, Li Xiaotian immediately changed his method and asked for Fang Shishir's help. Fang Shishir turned a deaf ear. Tang Zheng hurriedly said, "How can my cold blood compare to yours? Just because you're not innocent, you can frame people and almost cause them to lose their lives." Li Xiaotian said apologetically, "Aren't you fine? Don't worry about this problem. Sure. Just ask her to promise me." As he said this, he actually grabbed Fang Shishir's arm. Fang Shishir was incomparably embarrassed and hurriedly said, "Hurry and let go. This isn't something I can decide." Li Xiaotian was broken free, but he still unwillingly hugged Tang Zheng's arm and said, "Hurry up and say it. Do you agree or not?" Tang Zheng felt a soft thing rubbing against his arm. It felt pretty good, so he glanced at her full breasts and said without any trace of politeness, "This time you rubbed your breasts against my arm, so don't blame me for touching your breasts." Fang Shishir heard this and didn't know whether to laugh or cry as she glared at him. He took advantage of her, and now he was pretending to be obedient. Li Xiaotian said with grievance, "I've already sacrificed my body. Could it be that you still don't agree?" Tang Zheng didn't waver. "I don't agree. A car stopped in front of them, and a lively figure jumped out of the car and threw herself into Tang Zheng's arms. "Brother Godly Doctor, Nana can finally see you again. This is great. I'm so happy." Nana threw herself into Tang Zheng's arms and acted coquettishly. Tang Zheng squatted down and patted her head and said, "I'm also very happy. Nana has grown taller again." "I really grew taller again?" Nana opened her eyes wide and asked in surprise. Tang Zheng nodded. "Of course, I think it won't be long before you can catch up to me," Nana said with approval. Nana will definitely grow taller and eat more." Li Xiaotian looked at the little girl who was carved out of jade in surprise. Originally, she also took the cute route, but compared with this little girl who was like a porcelain doll, she was a little less charming. But her eyes were immediately attracted by another figure. Mu Hongyan, who exuded a mature charm, came out of the car. Li Xiaotian's eyes flashed with surprise. How could it be her? This kid actually has something to do with her. Mu Hongyan came over with a smile. "Tang Zheng, Shishir, welcome to Dianan." Fang Shishir already knew about the matter between Tang Zheng and Mu Hongyan. She smiled and nodded. "This time I'll have to disturb Sister Mu. Please recommend." Chapter 207. Looking at Mu Hongyan's reaction, Li Xiaotian said to himself, "I guess that you must know about the Li Palace, unlike some people who don't know anything." Book Friend Group Plus. As he said this, he gave Tang Zheng a meaningful glance. Tang Zheng found that Mu Hongyan's reaction was so big that he knew that the Li Palace was not ordinary. Looking at her disdainful eyes, he retorted, "Li Xiaotian, don't use your name to scare people." Li Xiaotian smiled confidently. "Whether I am scaring people or not, I believe that Madame Long will have her own judgment." Mu Hongyan glanced at Tang Zheng, as if thinking about how Tang Zheng was entangled with the people of the Li Palace, and it seemed that there was not a small conflict. However, she reacted quickly and adjusted her mood in an instant, saying, "Since you are a person of the Li Palace, of course I welcome you." Seeing this, Tang Zheng did not say anything more, but he also had a further understanding of the Li Palace. The car was as fast as lightning. Dianan was like spring all year round. Even though it was the dog days of June, it was not too hot. Nana was lying in Tang Zheng's arms, pointing out the scenery outside the window to introduce to Tang Zheng. Mu Hongyan added a few words from time to time, making them listen with relish. Li Xiaotian continued to show his natural familiarity, constantly looking for topics to chat with Mu Hongyan, and asked without regard, "Nana, I heard you call him Brother Godly Doctor. Why? Is his medical skills very good?" "Of course, Brother Godly Doctor." Nanan was just about to say that her illness was cured by Tang Zheng when Tang Zheng's eyes were sharp and his hands were quick as he hurriedly stopped her. Nana carefully thought about it and unexpectedly understood. She pouted like a ghost and said, "You must have made Brother Godly Doctor angry, so I won't talk to you." Li Xiaotian's face stiffened. Eating in the hands of the child, she awkwardly turned her head. Tang Zheng laughed loudly. "Haha, Nana, good. But you can't talk to this kind of bad person, otherwise you will be led astray by her. If you become a bad child, no one will like you." Fang Shishir gave Nana a thumbs up. Nana excitedly nodded and said, "Nana, remember, don't talk to this kind of bad person. Nana will not become a bad child, otherwise Brother Godly Doctor will not like me." "Yes, Nana is a good child. I like you very much." Tang Zheng touched her delicate face, and Tang Zheng said with a smile. Li Xiaotian angrily glared back and said, "Handsome Tang, I think you are the one teaching bad things to this child." "That's not it. Brother Godly Doctor is a good person. Nana listens to him and not you. You are a bad person." Nana pretended to be serious and said seriously. Unknowingly, the car drove through a tall carved iron gate and entered a huge building complex. This building complex was built on the mountain, but it was not a tall building, but an ancient building. Moreover, it was several times larger than Yi Dingdong's manor, and more importantly, the mountain seemed to be included in this huge building complex. Fang Shishir looked out the window in surprise. She was from a small rich family, but she was also shocked by this large amount and quietly asked, "What does Nana's family do to occupy such a large area? It is like an ancient palace." Compared to an imperial palace, of course it was exaggerated, but looking at this richly decorated ancient building complex, a sense of vicissitudes of history came rushing over. Tang Zheng shook his head, indicating that he was not clear about the Long family's background. Li Xiaotian caught a glimpse of the two's movements from the corner of his eyes, and his eyebrows rose. Tang Zheng seemed to be very familiar with Mu Hongyin, but he did not know the Long family's background. It was really strange. The car was parked in a wide parking lot, and there were several luxury cars next to it, as if it was a small car show. Under the guidance of Mu Hongyin, the few people came to a two-story building and first arranged for a few people to stay. This small building only had 3 guests, Tang Zheng, and Mu Hongyin then said to Tang Zheng, "Nana's grandfather wants to see you." Tang Zheng was slightly startled and immediately understood that it must be because he cured Nana, so he nodded to show that he understood. "Miss Li, you first rest. If you need anything, just tell the servant," Mu Hongyin said. Li Xiaotian nodded, but looked at Tang Zheng even more strangely. The Long family's old man was actually in such a hurry to see him. Just who was he? Why did the Li Palace never pay attention to him? She could not help but feel a little angry. The Li Palace's information had always been the most up-to-date and complete, but they had overlooked such an important person. When she returned in the future, she would definitely rectify it. Tang Zheng followed Mu Hongyin to a large study room. This study room was like a library, with several walls filled with bookshelves filled with all kinds of books. Nana jumped down from Tang Zheng's embrace and threw herself at a hale and hearty old man and cheered, "Grandfather, brother godly doctor is here." This old man was the head of the Long family, Long Xinyuan. He looked at Tang Zheng with bright eyes, held Nana's hand, and walked over to Tang Zheng. He stretched out his big hand, held Tang Zheng, and laughed. "So you are the brother godly doctor that Nana has been talking about. You are indeed a talented person, young and promising." Tang Zheng could clearly feel the surging qi and blood in the other party's body. Although he could not see through the other party's cultivation, there was no doubt that he was a true expert. "Hello, old Master Long," Tang Zheng said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. "You are called Tang Zheng, right? I am Long Xinyuan, the head of the Long family. I still owe you a thank you. Thank you for saving Nana's life." Long Xuanyuan's expression revealed some excitement as he said. Tang Zheng looked at Nana and said with a smile, "This is fate between Nana and me? What a good fate. Sit down first. I want to have a good chat with you. I have heard a lot about you. Even the King of Medicine is full of praise for you and wants to take you in as his disciple." Tang Zheng said indifferently, "That is the King of Medicine Senior's love. I am just an ordinary boy. I do not deserve such praise." "Why not? As far as I am concerned, the King of Medicine was helpless against Nana's illness, but you cured her illness with medicine, and I heard that you did not only save Nana, but also Yi Xuanji, that old man, was cured by you. It is really admirable." Old Xinyuan sighed. Tang Zheng's heart moved. There was no such thing as an impenetrable wall in this world. Even Long Xinyuan knew about him curing Yi Xuanji. Long Xinyuan saw through his thoughts and explained, "Tang Zheng, don't misunderstand. Only Hongyin and I know about this matter. No one else knows?" Tang Zheng sighed in relief and said, "Thank you. I really don't want too many people to know about this matter. After all, I don't have the life-continuing pill in my hands. If others come to me for treatment, I can only be helpless. The life-continuing pill is so precious. Of course it is rare, I understand. This time, you come to Dianan to stay for a while, have fun, and let our Long family be the host. I will play in Dianan for a while. I will have to disturb old master." "No problem." Bang! Suddenly, the study room door was pushed open, and a person hurriedly came in and shouted, "Dad, something happened?" Long Xuanyuan's expression turned cold and said in a deep voice, "Panicking, what are you doing? Can't you see that I am receiving a guest?" As he spoke, an imposing aura burst out, causing people's hearts to involuntarily tighten. The person who came in was the second young master of the Long family, Long Tengyu. He was stunned for a moment, and his gaze stopped on Tang Zheng's body, flashing a look of surprise. Tang Zheng also sized up the other party without leaving a trace. He was in his 20s, had an imposing appearance, and was a veritable handsome man. "Dad, there is an urgent matter," Long Tingyu said. Long Xinyuan nodded. "Tang Zheng, go and rest with Hong Yin first. I will drink with you during the lunch banquet." Tang Zheng got up and left, holding Nana's hand, and Mu Hongyin walked out together. "Dad, who is this person?" Long Tingyu looked at Tang Zheng suspiciously, and his gaze swept over Mu Hongyin. When the two of them walked out of the room, he hurriedly asked. Long Xinyuan did not answer and asked, "You just said that there was an urgent matter. What happened?" "Wang Fuchuan was killed. It happened last night, on the train back," Long Tingyu said. Long Xuanyuan's face darkened. "Killed? What happened? Didn't you send 3 martial artists to protect him?" "The 3 martial artists are also dead. All of them were injured by a blunt weapon in the throat, killed in one blow," Long Tengyu said in bewilderment. This result was unbelievable to him. "The person who killed him is an expert," Long Xinyuan said thoughtfully. "Are there any clues?" "The police saw the murderer, but he escaped. But there are still a few suspects' information collected by the police. I have already sent people to investigate, and the information should be back soon. Daring to kill our Long family's people, we must find the other party, otherwise, people will look down on our Long family," Long Tengyu said with righteous indignation. Long Xinyuan muttered, "Of course we have to find the mastermind, but from what you described, this time it was definitely done by a professional killer, and there won't be many clues left. But since the police have clues, then we will follow the vine to find the melon, and see if we can find anything." "Yes, Dad. This time Wang Fuchuan specially came back to report that matter, and was killed on the way. Then this matter is too worth pondering. Who is behind the scenes?" Long Xinyuan sneered. "Of course it is coveting my Long family's people. Wang Fuchuan also deserves to die. He actually dared to betray my Long family, even if he is not killed this time. I will teach him a lesson when he comes back." Ding ding. Suddenly, Long Tingyu's phone rang. He was overjoyed. "Dad, the police sent a message." A few pictures and some simple information appeared on his phone. "It's actually a beauty, and not just 1, 2 beauties. There is also a man. Why does this person look so familiar?" Long Tingyu frowned suspiciously. Suddenly, his eyes lit up and shouted, "Isn't this the brat just now?" On the phone were the photos of Tang Zheng, Fang Shishir, and Li Xiaotian, but there were some differences in the photos on the ID card, so Long Tingyu did not recognize Tang Zheng at a glance. But this was enough to surprise him. The suspect of Wang Fuchuan's murder case actually came to the Long family. It was too unbelievable. "Let me see." Long Xinyuan took the phone and looked. Who else could it be if not Tang Zheng? Moreover, the identity information on the phone was clear at a glance. It was Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng was actually involved in Wang Fuchuan's murder case, and Wang Fuchuan was a member of the Long family. Long Xuanyuan's 2 thick eyebrows immediately twisted, and his eyes became incomparably sharp, like a blade. Chapter 208. Long Xinyuan was thinking. Tang Zheng saved Nana, but was involved in Wang Fuchuan's murder case. He didn't know if this was a coincidence or intentional, but no matter what, this matter had to be investigated thoroughly. Since Tang Zheng was living in the Long family, there was no need to rush. "I will naturally ask about this matter clearly. You don't have to worry about it," Long Xinyuan said in a deep voice. Seeing that his father did not reveal the other party's identity, Long Tingyu's heart sank. Could it be that this kid had a big background? No. Seeing that he was very familiar with Mu Hongyan, could it be that he was one of Mu Hongyan's people? Long Tengyu left the study with a gloomy expression, only to see Mu Hongyan returning alone. He hurriedly went up to her and said with a smile, "Sister-in-law, why didn't you accompany the guests and come back again?" Mu Hongyan said, "I still have something to do with Dad." "Oh, what is it? Is it convenient to tell me? I can also share sister-in-law's worries and solve her problems." Long Tengyu's face could not hide the frivolous expression on his face. Mu Hongyan faintly smiled. She walked past him and headed straight for the study. Long Tengyu seemed to be used to her cold attitude and asked casually, "Sister-in-law, who was that kid just now? He seems to be quite close to you." Mu Hongyan stopped and turned to look at him angrily and said, "He is my friend." Oh, how come I've never seen him before? Sister-in-law, introduce your friend to me in the future. Why don't I invite sister-in-law to dinner tonight and hear about your friend? Ever since sister-in-law came back from outside, I haven't invited you to dinner. Long Tingyu said unscrupulously. The anger between Mu Hongyin's brows grew even stronger. She took a deep breath, and her towering chest heaved up and down, making Long Tingyu reluctant to look away. I'm not free, Mu Hongyin said coldly and pushed the door open to enter the study. She was very clear about what Long Tingyu was planning. Ever since her husband passed away, Long Tingyu had been plotting against her sister-in-law. Recently, he had become more and more unbridled, causing her to be extremely annoyed. Seeing Mu Hongyin's graceful figure disappear through the door, Long Tingyu did not hide the lust in his eyes as he muttered, "Why are you pretending to be virtuous with me? One day, I will take you." Mu Hongyin was indeed a stunner, a mature stunner that made men palpitate with eagerness. In the study, Long Xinyuan jumped up from his seat when he heard Mu Hongyin's words. He exclaimed, "You said that people from the Li Palace came to our house?" Mu Hongyin nodded. "Just now, she came with Tang Zheng. It is said that they met on the train." Train? Long Xinyuan frowned. Why was it a train again? Could it be that Wang Fuchuan's death was related to the Li Palace? But it shouldn't be. The Long family and the Li Palace had never had any enmity. Did the people from the Li Palace say their intentions? Mu Hongyin shook her head and said, "No, but I can see that her relationship with Tang Zheng is not ordinary. How could Tang Zheng be related to the people from the Li Palace?" Mu Hongyin shook her head blankly. "This matter must be investigated thoroughly. You should first find out her purpose. No, you should directly invite her to see me. Since she has already revealed her identity, our Long family naturally cannot neglect our guests." Mu Hongyin deeply agreed. After a while, she brought Li Xiaotian in, closed the door, and left. After a long time, Li Xiaotian was personally escorted out of the study by Long Xinyuan. "Miss Li, I wish you a good time in Dianan. If you need anything, just let me know. I will fully cooperate," Long Xinyuan said with a serious face. Li Xiaotian chuckled and said, "Then I will thank Master Long." Mu Hongyin looked at the two suspiciously. It was inconvenient to ask what they talked about, so she left with Li Xiaotian, leaving Long Xinyuan to return to his chair and fall into contemplation. It turns out that one of the two women on the train is from the Li Palace. Moreover, she is the Holy Maiden of the Li Palace. In the future, the Holy Maiden will be in charge of the Li Palace. At this time, a good relationship with her is absolutely beneficial to the future development of the Long family. It's just that she has been hiding the true purpose of this trip, making it difficult to figure out. The Holy Maiden of the Li Palace going out to gain experience is not a simple sightseeing. Li Xiaotian did not care about Long Xuanyuan's thoughts. She wanted to inquire more about Tang Zheng's background. She asked Mu Hongyin about Tang Zheng's information. Mu Hongyin talked about him, making Li Xiaotian helpless. However, her interest in Tang Zheng became stronger. When the two returned to the door of the small building, they heard a roar coming from inside. Mu Hongyin's face suddenly changed, because she clearly heard that it was Long Tingyu's voice. As long as there was Long Tengyu, there would be no peace. He must be the one causing trouble. So, she rushed into the small building. Li Xiaotian's eyes lit up, and there was a faint smile at the corner of her mouth. She also quickly followed up. In the small building, Tang Zheng and Long Tengyu were confronting each other. Nana pouted and unhappily grabbed Tang Zheng's hand, while Fang Shishir stood angrily at the side. "What happened?" Mu Hongyin asked with a heavy face. Fang Shishir quickly said, "Sister Mu, this person is too rude. He suddenly rushed in and wanted to capture us, saying that we are related to some murder case." Just now, when the three of them were resting in the small building, Long Tengyu walked in and asked Tang Zheng why he killed Wang Fuchuan. Tang Zheng was confused. Long Tengyu also saw Fang Shishir. Wasn't she the girl in the photo? Immediately, he was even more certain that the other party was related to the murder case, so he directly wanted to capture the two of them. Long Tengyu's unscrupulous behavior was not without reason. He was sure that Tang Jing and Mu Hongyin had a close relationship, If he could confirm that the murder case was related to the two, then Mu Hongyin would be implicated and her status in the Long family would plummet. Only by knocking Mu Hongyin down from the altar would he have a chance to get close to her. In order to get Mu Hongyin, Long Tengyu had put in a lot of effort. However, Tang Zhang was not someone who could be needed by others. Of course, he would not go with him. Thus, Long Tengyu flew into a rage and prepared to make a move. Just at this time, Mu Hongyin walked in. "What are you doing?" she shouted angrily. Long Tingyu's face did not change. He righteously said, "Sister-in-law, you came at the right time. This person is related to Wang Fuchuan's murder case, so I want to bring him back for investigation." Wang Fuchuan's murder case? What happened? He's dead? Mu Hongyin asked in surprise. Please recommend you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.